You're unmuted. And you're live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, April the 8th, 2024 Groveland Board of Selectmen meeting. Let me introduce everyone at the front of the room here. To my far left, we have our Town Administrator, Rebecca Oldham, Selectwoman Kathy Castronellis, Jason Naves, Selectman, Mark Toronto, to my right, Edward Watson, and I'm your chairman for the evening, Daniel MacDonald. Please join us in saying the Pledge of the Allegiance. Pledge of the Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, we have public comment. Right? Can we do that before the public hearing? We usually do, kind of out of order. Public comment.
Good evening, Mike Dempsey for the Conservation Commission. Earth Day being this month in April, the commission has been working with a few different people to have some Earth Day cleanups this month, so I just wanted to tell everyone listening about the 3 dates. So the first will be this Saturday, April 13th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. down at the end of Center Street near the Boxford border up to somewhere around the bus turnaround. And that starts at 10 a.m. Anyone can come. The commission will be there and we'll be providing bags and gloves. The second one is on April 18th, which is a Thursday of next week. That one also 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., sorry, wrong time. And that's going to be a cleanup of Salem Street with being sponsored by Chesterton. And so if you'd like to join in that one, Chesterton is asking us to meet in their main lobby on Salem Street to get bags and gloves. And then the last one is on Sunday, April 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that one is going to be a cleanup of the community trail. And you can meet at the Main Street entrance, and gloves and bags will be provided for that pickup. So certainly, if you can't make it to any of these three, you can clean up your own street. Nobody's going to stop you. I know I'm planning on doing some cleanup next week with my grandkids on Uptack Road, if anybody wants to join me there. But thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We have a public hearing this evening pursuant to Chapter 148, Section 13 of the Massachusetts General Laws. ANFA LLC has applied for a fuel storage license of 22,000 gallons at 929-931 Salem Street, Groveland. The application for this license is for the storage of 2 underground fuel storage tanks. One tank is 12,000 gallons and the other one is 10,000 gallons. The Board of Selectmen, acting as the licensing authority, will hold a public hearing today at 6:30 p.m., a couple minutes behind. So here we are. How are you, sir? Please state your
Good evening,
name and welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Stephen David. I represent ANFA LLC, who is the owner of the property at 929-931 Salem Street. The chair has adequately described why we're here and accurately described the size of the tanks. These tanks will be located in a concrete vault pursuant to the special permit that was granted by the planning board. The vault is under construction. There is an SP 101 pending with the state fire marshal's office. That application and permit is under review. Our expectation is that that decision will be made sometime this week. So we're here, obviously we're here tonight because we need the license from you in order to store the fuel in the tanks at the location.
Okay. So you just need our approval. It's already been cited and everything, and the planning board's approved it.
That is correct.
Okay.
The tanks are on site, the vault, it's a concrete vault, so it's a pretty big job. But as soon as the walls, we're hoping to get the walls poured shortly And at that point, we've retained Tank, which is a large company that does a lot of this work to install the tanks into the vault, and obviously the pumps and the lines and everything that goes to the island and the gas pumps that are going to be located on site.
What kind of fuel is going to be stored in it?
Say again?
What kind of fuel?
Dan, you have your microphones up.
What kind of fuel?
So the larger tank is split into two sections. So I believe it's regular, super, and I believe diesel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board? Ed?
Diesel tank? Will there be a diesel tank?
I believe so, yes. They're fiberglass triple wall tanks, and they're located in a vault, so there's pretty safe conditions there. I think one of the 6 sections is for diesel, that's correct.
Now, the 10,000, that's probably the diesel tank?
No, I believe it's one of the 6,000 sections in the 12,000 tank. The 10,000 tank is regular.
Good, thank you.
Mark, you have any questions? Jason?
No.
Kathy?
Well, just procedurally, so the planning board approves this? Does it go through the building inspector at all, or is this just the planning board?
So the building, we did file for a permit with the building department. That permit is pending, but he actually would supervise and inspect the entire project, the creation of and construction of the vault, as well as the installation of the tanks.
Okay, and so then we're being requested to approve
Recording stopped.
the license, and then it still needs to go to the state, but just to the fire marshal? Is that?
That's correct. It's already been filed. It's under review.
Okay, so our vote would be contingent on that vote being an approval as well, or not? Because the fire chief said his approval is contingent upon the state fire marshal.
That is correct. That is accurate, ma'am.
So would our approval also
Recording in
have that
progress.
same contingency, or do we have to say that?
So your approval is to a license to store the fuel in the tanks. So if for some reason the state did not approve our application, then we couldn't have the tanks, and so you sort of come after that approval. We are, all of this is subject to the state fire marshal's approval.
So our approval doesn't have to have a contingency on it?
I have no problem with you putting a contingency on it.
Okay.
I fully expect the state's going to approve it, especially in light of the safety feature being installed in a concrete vault, so.
Kathy, I think we can probably just,
Make the motion.
make the motion contingent upon compliance with all applicable laws and regulations.
Okay, so
That would be fine.
I'll make a motion for approval of the application for license at 929-931 Salem Street, Groveland. Owner of the land is Anfei LLC, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And as described in the application, the number of tanks and the information about what will be contained in the tanks, and all of this contingent on the state approval.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? I didn't ask, but is anyone else, here to comment on, on the public hearing? No? All right, I'll move the question. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good luck,
Have a
sir.
Good night.
Next up, possible, discussion and possible vote. 1, request to allow early in-person voting for the 2024 local election. This is our town clerk, Elizabeth Cuniff's request.
Good evening. I don't know if you need me to go over the letter that was submitted. This is based on the Votes Act of 2022. In order for us to offer in-person early voting for a local election, it has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. So that's what this request is before you tonight. The Board of Registrars voted to offer early in-person voting one Saturday prior to the election, which would be Saturday, April 27th, from 9 to 2.
Do you have money in the budget?
Yes, I talked with Rebecca about this before, and yes, there is enough in the budget.
And you support this?
Yes.
Okay. Kathy?
No questions.
Jason?
No questions.
Mark?
All set.
You're all set.
Okay.
Anything else?
Just a vote to approve.
All right, all those in favor?
Well, no, we didn't make a motion yet. Make a motion to approve
Waiting for you, Kathy. Come
early
on, let's go.
voting on Saturday, April 27th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. as recommended by the registrars.
Is there a second? Mark will second it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, review and approve posting of the 2024 annual town meeting warrant. Rebecca?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you'll see before you in your packet the draft 2024 town meeting warrant for Monday, April 29th at the Bagnell Elementary School at 6:30 PM. This has gone under initial review from the Finance Board. They have made their recommendations for all of the financial articles that are listed on the warrant. So it is now time for the Board of Selectmen to go through each individual warrant article and make their recommendation for approval. Once completed, we would ask that you would vote to post the warrant and sign the warrant, and we will get that posted by Friday so that we can meet our deadline to hold town meeting.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure? You want to do this all at once, or you want to break it down?
I think we have to break it down because we have to rule favorable or unfavorable per each article.
All right. So we got to do a lot of reading here. Kathy, why don't you take Article 1?
Is Article 1 both of the ballot questions then?
I'm sorry?
Is Article 1 containing both of the ballot questions?
It does, and it does not require a vote of the board or
Okay.
town meeting.
Okay, so we can go right to Article 2?
Correct.
Okay, so Article 2, I read the description of it, has to do with the terms on the planning board, and somehow they've become incorrectly staggered. So this would straighten that out, as I understand reading it. So I'd move for approval of Article 2.
I would
I'll
second.
sorry.
Second the favorable recommendation.
Recommendation, that's what I meant, thank you. Recommend favorable. Thank you.
All right, any discussion? All right, well, I guess move a vote on favorable or unfavorable. All those in favor of favorable action on this? Kathy?
Yes,
All right,
Yes.
unanimous. You want to do number 3?
yes. This has to do with allowing town trust funds to be invested in prudent investment rule. From what I read of it and what I looked at online, it seems reasonable, so I'd move favorable action on that. This Finance Board also is recommending favorable.
I'll second that.
Discussion, don't we have to anyways, or, we can buy anything, junk bonds? Invest in like racing horses, I mean,
The law does provide very strict rules in terms of what the municipalities may invest in their trust funds, and this would open that up a little bit so that we could make a larger return on our investments while also taking into consideration the investments being made.
so we couldn't buy cryptocurrency and
Correct.
Coinbase and, all right, anyone else? All those in favor of favorable action? It's unanimous. Kathy, you're on with 4.
Okay, this has to do with the town treasurer and abandoned funds, and it seems like we're just straightening out some bookkeeping so that she can take action on these abandoned funds. Is that correct? Maybe the town administrator can explain it better than I can.
So essentially, this is about abandoned funds. So you'll see a lot of times if we write a check and somebody doesn't cash that check, and how we go about processing that information. So this would allow a more streamlined and efficient process with dealing with those outstanding funds.
So I make a motion for favorable action.
Second that motion.
What was done in the past?
We're still able to dispose of those funds, well, to reclaim those funds, but it just takes a longer process. So adopting the statute allows for a more efficient and expedited process for disposing of abandoned funds, allowing the treasurer to take these funds as revenue into the general fund after there have been several attempts to notify the check recipients once 1 full year has passed since the original issuance.
So effectively, we can confiscate the money.
Within a shorter time period than what is currently allowed under the law.
But you give notice, last known
Yes.
address, and what else? Newspaper publishing, how do you chase somebody if they moved out of town or you can't find them?
So without adopting this measure, the town would need to follow the Massachusetts Unclaimed Property Division's annual reporting guidelines, allowing for 3 years dormancy period, user due diligence process to notify the recipients. It's just it's just a much longer process. So like on the unclaimed property, you know, the ads that you see in the newspaper and you have unclaimed property,
At the treasurer's office, yeah. and that's-
Exactly, so it just takes a longer time to try and get those funds released.
So basically shortens it from 3 years to 1.
Exactly.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor of favorable action? It's unanimous. All right, what's next? Article 5, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108P, authorizing the town to pay additional compensation to the town treasurer collector in an amount equal to 10% of their regular compensation, but in no event greater than $1,000 annually, upon the completion of necessary courses of study and training and attainment of a certificate by the Massachusetts Collectors and Treasurers Association as a certified Massachusetts municipal collector or a certified Massachusetts municipal treasurer, or to take any other action relative thereto. So, is this new?
So it's not new per se. We had some trouble finding out whether or not we had adopted this provision of Massachusetts general law, which would allow us to move forward. Our former treasurer collector had negotiated as part of their contract to receive an additional stipends for this, holding that license, holding the certification and passing the exam, but we had not officially adopted that, and where the current treasurer collector is not a contract employee, they are not able to receive the same type of negotiation through that contract. So this is just a way to incentivize the treasurer collector to pass the exam, both the treasurer exam and the collector exam, and to receive a stipend of up to $1,000. The treasurer collector does need to go through the schooling that would be required and put in the required hours in order to sign up and take the exam. They have not met those requirements as of date. So this is just to, again, to further incentivize the proper certifications to move forward. And as you'll see, the Finance Board does not have a listed recommendation because this did come in after the fact when they reviewed the warrant, because again, we needed to verify with the town clerk's office as to whether or not we had adopted these provisions. And at that point in time, under their review, we had not received that confirmation. So it was added after the fact.
Would this $1,000 cap conflict with the existing contract? Did we agree to pay more than that?
She does not have a contract.
She doesn't?
She does not have a contract, and therefore she does not get an additional stipends for any certifications that she'll hold. She's bound by the same employee's manual that everybody else in the town that is not a contractual employee is.
Gotcha, so we have not promised more than the $1,000.
Correct. And it really is to adopt the policy, to allow us to do so when she does pass the exams.
I suppose we could walk around it. You could pay them more just because you want to pay them more, right?
You could do that.
Okay, anyone else?
Well, I think it's a good idea to encourage them to take the training and pass the test. This kind of gives an incentive. It's a several-year process, right, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah, I would like to, I mean, I hope we pay for them to take the courses, right?
We do.
Okay. And then beyond that, this is just kind of an incentive that says you went ahead and did all that training and took the test, and that's a good thing.
So how would we budget for this? I mean, you just park $1,000 aside and then just, if they meet the requirements, then you pay it out, and if they don't, then it just sits there, so, I mean,
So we can put it in as part of the policy, so that would mean that we could request that the individual, prior to taking the exam, notify the town so that proper budgetary accommodations could be made, and we could put it in the budget line item if they didn't pass the exam, and then if they did not, they could go back into the general fund. So we could put together a policy that would allow us to prepare for when that happens. It's not a large sum of money that wouldn't allow us that type of flexibility.
yeah, just if we didn't have it budgeted, then you have to pay them, you're obligated, right? So, have to make sure we do it. All right, Jason,
Good.
do we have the 1,000 in there now?
Not in the salary line item, but they're not taking the exam this year.
Okay. Mark? Ed?
It seems how this is a money article. I don't see where there's a finance board recommendation on this.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned, this was something that we were trying to get, the treasurer collector had asked for us to review this particular bylaw. I had reached back out in February to the town clerk's office to verify whether or not they had that information, to confirm, in fact, if we had adopted that statute. I did not get that confirmation until recently, so I wanted to honor the request and put it forward. I did notify the finance board, and they could and will meet prior to will meet prior to town meeting, so they could make a recommendation at that point in time to do so prior to town meeting.
So you think they'll make a recommendation on the town meeting floor?
They could do that. I can't speak for them now.
All right.
But if it's not the pleasure of the board to move this forward, then we can remove the article altogether. I was just trying to respect the employees' wishes, and while we did try and plan properly, we just were not able to move forward until we had that confirmation.
Seems like, I don't like to be a copycat, but if most municipalities are offering that incentive, then we need to compete, I guess, right?
Our neighbors just passed this article last fiscal year.
And it's $1,000, not $10,000, so it shouldn't break our budget.
And it's up to, so you could offer
It's-
less.
All right.
I make a motion for favorable action.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? All right, I'll move it. All those in favor of favorable action? Unanimous. All right, I'll take number 6. To see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 105, Administration of Government of the Town of Groveland, General Bylaws as follows. In brackets here, delete the strike-through language and add the language in bold. So people watching can't see it. Section 105-1, evening office hours. Whoever shall accept the offices of town clerk, tax collector, and town treasurer shall, as a public servant to the townspeople, open their offices for town business one evening each week. Said evening to be Monday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., and the strike-through was 7 p.m. Guess it used to be 7. So I'll make that 4 to 6, except for holidays or unforeseen difficulties, at which time one other evening may be designated, end quote, or take any other actions relative thereto. So I guess that means adjust as necessary. Any discussions, Kathy? No, motion.
Yeah, motion for favorable action. They noted that they're just not, people aren't really stopping by after 7 o'clock at night, so they're really sitting there for no reason.
Neil second that. Any other discussion? Ed?
Yep.
Town employees on board with this?
Yes, very much so.
Stakeholders?
We had voted last year to reduce it from 8 PM to 7 PM. The board felt as though they wanted to see whether or not there were still people coming in after 6 PM, which was the original request. After doing a collection of numbers of people who visit after that particular time, it was found that there's still not many people visiting after 6 PM. So they had asked, being the treasurer collector's office, and then I guess they confirmed with the clerk's office to reduce that back down to 6 PM.
All right, and I suppose if we get more requests, we could always change it, right?
And it does allow for them to accommodate other residents who come in later during the week. So sometimes people can't get here for 4, so now they'll have to be open until later, and that does help folks who are trying to rush home from work.
There you go, and I suppose they could come in at 8 if they had the key and by appointment if they wanted to. All right. All those in favor of favorable action? Unanimous. 7, to see if the town will vote to accept a public way, Billis Way, as it has been laid out by the Board of Selectmen in the manner depicted on the plan entitled Plan of Land in Groveland, Mass., Street Acceptance Plan showing right-of-way of Billis Way, dated February 28, 2024, by Millennium Engineering, Inc., and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain such interest in land as are necessary to provide for the use and maintenance of said way for all purposes for which public ways are used in the town of Groveland, or take any other actions relative thereto. So, my question is, do we need to take this by eminent domain or purchase?
No, and the board did in fact approve the laying out of the way just at their last meeting.
How can we acquire it? Has it already been gifted to us? I mean,
Town meeting will determine whether or not it will accept the way as a public right-of-way, and they will deed us the property.
they will, so
They will.
the owners of the property are not expecting
developer who
consideration
constructed
for it.
Exactly.
They are not.
So it's contingent upon town meeting accepting of the roadway, yes.
So the eminent domain language in the purchase are moot.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else?
All set.
All right.
Motion for favorable action?
Seconded by Mark. All right. Any other discussion? No. All those in favor of favorable act? Passes, unanimous. All right. Article 8, to see if the town would vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to purchase as a gift or otherwise acquire a fee interest, a lesser interest in the land with any improvements thereon located in Groveland, Essex County, Massachusetts, being shown as Lot 8D, quote, not a building lot, end quote, and Lot 1B as a certain plan titled, quote, Plan of Land in Groveland, Mass. Showing A&R subdivision at Fairway Drive, end quote, dated October 13th, 2014, by Stephen J. Russo, professional land surveyor, Millennium Engineering, Inc., recorded with the Essex County Registry of Deeds as Plan Book 446, page 14, or to take any other action relative thereto.
Mr. Chair, this article is being put forward because as part of the street acceptance process that we did with Fairways Drive, we did not take 2 parcels along the sides of the roadway that should have been taken at that point in time. So therefore, these small strips of land are adjacent to the roadway and contributing as part of the drainage and other roadway maintenance aspects. So this is just to allow the land to be transferred to the town. So as we had discussed, the town meeting would vote to allow the Board of Selectmen to move forward with this, and the Board of Selectmen would still have to sign the deed for the transfer of property, but it gives the board the rights to do so with the town meeting vote. So you would be able to again see that we're not trading any money, not taking anything for eminent domain or anything of that nature, that we are being given the property, and the town meeting is giving the Board of Selectmen the ability to accept that.
So is this just housekeeping for an oversight or undersight in the past, and it was all part of the development of that?
That is correct.
All right. Kathy?
It makes sense to me. It probably occurred before we had a town planner. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
2014.
Yeah, so I recommend, I move for favorable action.
Is 8 and 9 both, that,
There's 2 parcels, one on both sides of the road.
or you do both of those at the same time?
Was there a second?
I made it favorable.
For both 8 and
Kathy
9?
made a
same-
motion.
But for both, they're on the same article.
No, 8 and 9 I think are different.
No, 9's
Oh,
separate.
9's a separate article, sorry.
Nine's
There's-
something else,
Discussing 8.
yes. Sorry,
Second,
I
favorable.
misunderstood.
You'll second it?
Sure.
All right.
Thank you. I
Anyone
misunderstood.
else?
Jason, sorry.
So did I.
Seems to be housekeeping. All those in favor? Yep. All right. Next up, Article 9, to see if the town would vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to purchase, accept as a gift or otherwise acquire a fee interest or lesser interest in a portion of the land known as Main Street, Assessors Map 24 Lot 008, being all or a portion of the land more fully described in the deed recorded at Book 41592, page 194, on the Southern Essex District Registry of Deeds, said parcel consisting of 261,360 plus or minus square feet of open land, a portion of which shall be used for Groveland municipal light purposes under the care, custody, and control of the municipal light department, and a portion of which shall be used for general municipal purposes under the care, custody, and control of the Board of Selectmen. Said portions generally shown on the sketch plan on file with the town clerk, or to take any other action relative thereto. So,
Mr. Chair, this is in regards to a property that's next to the trail property that you'll see going into Haverhill. There is a transformer, and the municipal light plant owns property in the back of this parcel, so allowing the Groveland Municipal Light a portion of the property to expand upon their operations in the back, but then also giving the town the ability to potentially add additional parking for the trail, access for the trail, or passive recreation in association with the trail, is why we're looking to separate the property for the town's use towards the bottom of the property towards the trail. This would only be if, obviously, the owner of the property would like to donate the property to the town. He has expressed interest in doing so, had already tried to work with the Conservation Commission at one point, but there was some issues with the removal of some trees and clearing of the lot, so he did want to move forward with working with both the Groveland Municipal Light Plant and the town to develop the land as, well, not develop, but utilize the land as described in the article.
so it says to accept as a gift or otherwise acquire a fee interest. So this is a gift. We don't need to acquire a fee interest. Is that correct?
Yes, and the board still has the ability, if, when the deed comes to them, if there was to have a monetary, to decline taking the property.
Has that not been decided?
So he believes that he's going to donate the property, but I just don't have the deed, and we don't have the ability to accept the deed until the town meeting approves it, so it's contingent upon town meeting vote.
Okay. And what control will the Board of Selectmen have over it? Is it a shared control with the Groveland Municipal Light, or?
So in talking with town council, it would be just that, so that the Groveland Municipal Light would have control of the parcel up the top of the plot of land, because that's where that transformer is, and the town would have control over the lower portion of the property along where the trail is, so that we could utilize it for such.
And that's all designated on the plan? That's all?
Yes, and that will be given to the clerk if the board would like to move forward with this article.
Okay. Kathy?
So is this the property across from the street from the beginning of the rail trail?
Correct, towards the Haverhill side.
Right, so, and then if you go in, the transformer, the electric department needs access to go inside and,
Yes, they have an access road that's part of
Yes,
the
I've seen that.
corridor.
and what is a transfer station? Is that there's their?
I mean transformer, not a transfer station.
Oh, okay, because I saw transfer station, and I was like, what is that?
That's my apologies, I can correct that.
So that should be to expand at their transformer, that should say
Yes.
transformer? Okay, that makes, I was confused by that. But we would have the deeded property, we would just have allowances for them to go in and, okay, they can't build and something on there without talking to us.
No, and it's in the
Okay.
wetland jurisdiction as well, so they wouldn't be able to have building of that nature.
Okay, but we feel there'd be enough room for a pretty good amount of parking there for the trail?
Yes, it would allow for additional parking.
Great. Oh, I think that's a good idea. I just wasn't sure what a transfer station was.
No, that's my apology, I'll correct that
That's all right.
explanation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll make a motion for favorable if you want to continue discussion.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Supposed to, I guess.
Okay, thank
How
you.
we discuss. Mark? You like it? Ed?
All set.
Jason?
Good.
All right. All those in favor of favorable recommendation?
Yep.
There you go. Unanimous. I'll do number 10, and then I'll give the rest to Mark. Article 10, to see if the town would vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant a conservation restriction to the Essex County Greenbelt Association for no consideration for land which is under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission as follows. 3 parcels of land identified by the Town of Groveland assessors as map 5, lot 1, 34 Wood Street, map lot 5, lot 2F Wood Street, and map 8, lot 4M Wood Street, for the purpose of preserving said properties in perpetuity as open space and for passive recreational use, except that area which is used for water supply purposes or more fully shown on the sketch plan on file with the town clerk, and so long as the fee interest shall be retained by the Town of Groveland under the care, custody, and control of the Groveland Conservation Commission, or take any action relative thereto. So, whose article is this? Is it Mike? Want to talk about it, Mike? Why do we need this? Why haven't we had it before, and why now?
Well, we voted at town meeting about 6 years ago to proceed with this, but after that, we also acquired 2 other parcels. One is a 10-acre parcel that directly abuts town forest, and the other one is an 8-acre parcel that's across the street. So the idea with this article is to consolidate all 3 into a single request to the state legislature to allow a conservation restriction on them, because they're also protected under Article 97. So in order to do that, you have to get the state legislature to approve it. So we rolled it all into one. After this article passes at town meeting, we'll go forward with requesting the legislature to approve it. Once they approve it, then we'll be working with Essex County Greenbelt to complete the conservation restriction.
Why do you need their involvement? You can't do it without them, or it's just be piecemeal?
No, I mean, we need a third party to hold the conservation restriction.
We do?
Yeah,
Can't put it on there yourself?
no.
Then what if we don't?
What if we don't?
Yeah,
Well,
it's wetlands, you can't do anything with it anyways, right?
no, town forest, we could turn it into a hunting preserve, or we could, build some log cabins on it, or,
Would that restrict us from doing it?
well, chances are, standard conservation restriction wouldn't allow some of those things to take place.
So right now, you could hunt on it, and this would basically make it so you can't walk on it, you can't...
No. The current use of all that property isn't gonna change. It's just that, we wouldn't be able to build buildings on it, basically.
But you can go exploring and walking
Oh,
through
yeah.
the woods. You can
Definitely,
look at trees.
yep.
Okay. Now, what's it gonna cost us?
Basically, nothing.
No legal fees, nothing?
No,
Greenbelt gonna pick it up? and-
Greenbelt takes care of that stuff. We have a stipend for ongoing inspection. They have to inspect it every year, but that's covered by a CPA article that we passed back in 2017.
Do we lose any tax revenue?
No, because it's already owned by the Conservation Commission. It's only the conservation restriction that this would impact.
Gotcha. So it's not, doesn't generate revenue anyway.
No.
So the gist of this is you don't want anyone hunting on it or camping on it.
It's really basically to tie all 3 together into one property that's protected. They're already protected in different ways, but this will tie it all together into one CR and make it easier to administer. A lot of the protection of it will pass from the commission onto Essex County Greenbelt, so it makes it easier for the town to monitor it.
And it protects wildlife. That's
Yeah.
what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. Is this, you did a site walk once where you took us up Wood Street and you pointed out a piece of property that you wanted to get a, I don't know, permission to cut through for the trail. Is this connected to that?
Yes,
How?
yes.
So would it prevent the trail from, so this would allow the trail to continue up and go
Yes.
through?
Yeah, trails
'Cause
Trails
that's-
would be allowed on the
Even if it's
CR.
being built, like the rail trail with the railings and all that?
Yeah,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. All right, that's good then. I'm a favorable.
Ed?
Mike, sometimes these conservation restrictions are too restrictive. And supposing if this passes, and in the town forest, at some point, they wanted to put up a 10-by-10 building with just a roof, open on all four sides for some purpose. You wouldn't be able to do it if there was a conservation restriction on there.
It depends on what the conservation restriction said, and so once we get beyond this step of approval of the state legislature, then the next step is actually to review the CR itself. So I will then come back with the CR, with Essex County Greenbelt. You'll be able to comment if you want any changes to it, add any allowances or anything like that. So, that's a good point, because sometimes we want to be able to understand, do we want, how do we want to manage this? Do we want to manage it primarily for trails, hunting, bike riding, horseback riding? All those things are considerations when it comes to a CR. Do we want some of these things or not? So you will get the chance to weigh in on that stuff once we come back with the CR itself.
So,
If once a conservation restriction is put on it,
Yes.
can a two-thirds majority of the town meeting do away with the conservation restriction on that piece of property? My
No,
recollection is that when we've done this before, you've said no, that it can't be done.
no, it isn't just up to the town. The town has to decide, number one, but then you have to go back to the state legislature and get their approval.
so if you want a mountain bike on it, I mean, who's going to decide that? I mean, it seems like we're giving up local control of this and delegating it to someone else. And
No.
can you put a picnic table on it? I mean, is somebody else going to tell us what we can and can't do once we go along with this?
We decide what we want on it. So if I come back in here and you say, we really want to make sure people can ride their bikes on this property, then we can add that in.
Well, I have a picnic area with some
Yeah.
hibachis like used to be down Johnson Pond, but that was, controversial for some people.
Yes.
So, it's,
Right.
do
That
it.
wasn't a CR issue, but,
but could that restrict outdoor grilling if there was an area or
Yeah,
picnic
so-
tables? And put a porta potty or something along it.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't want to trap us to something that's like somebody's telling us we can't.
yeah. No, I mean, we really haven't run into that issue. We have a CR on VZ Park, we have a CR on Meadow Pond Reservation, we have a CR on Center Street Greenway, and, I mean, the biggest thing that we ran up against recently was the water department had permission to explore water sources on the Center Street Greenway. And they went ahead and did it, but they were supposed to notice the state natural heritage program, which they didn't tell conservation didn't tell the state. So we had to just tell them, correct it, that it was going on. So, I think the town has been able to live very well with the CRs, but as I say, I think it's important that the selectmen weigh in on, we may come in with a CR that says this, this, and this, but if you want to change something about it, we can discuss it.
So we have, so this is preliminary. So if we get the draft CR, who's going to draft that?
Essex County Greenbelt.
And if we don't like it, we could say, forget about it.
Yeah, or you can say, we'd like to see this instead of this, or whatever. We've done that before, I think, on...
They need our approval,
Yes, absolutely,
or this is all just nullified.
yes.
Mr. Chairman? So just to follow up on what Dan was asking you, it says the town will authorize the Board of Selectmen. So what you're saying is we go to town meeting and then they give us the authority to do this CR and review it and decide if it's written properly for these properties?
Yes,
Okay.
because the selectmen have to ask the state legislature to do this.
Okay.
So,
So if after a year we were like not satisfied, we could go back to town meeting and undo this if we hadn't gone through the whole process?
you wouldn't have to, because the way the article is written, the article is releasing it to your control only for the cause of doing a CR. So if we never do a CR,
It doesn't happen?
it doesn't change the way it is now.
Okay.
So it's in essence, a permission slip.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And then,
This is pretty simple.
and then
This-
ultimately, the Board of Selectmen would adopt the final regulation or reject it.
Yeah, the
Or modify
CR
it.
itself, yes.
CR.
Yes.
So I made a motion for favorable recommendation.
All right, anyone? Second.
I seconded it.
Question. Mike, I'd like to see things written down. Can we make an amendment to this that the town, the selectmen at a two-thirds majority vote at a town meeting could take the conservation restriction off? Because from what I've seen on other things that would put a conservation restriction on, we're very limited on what we can do there. And I'll give you a case in point.
Okay.
Down on Center Street, when we put the conservation restriction on the property down there, and there was somebody from the Essex Greenbelt that was here, and I asked them, I said that, reading this, a kid can't ride through that area on a bicycle. And I says, how do you explain to a kid he can't ride his bicycle through there, but we have 10-wheel dump trucks hauling sand and gravel out of there in the back? And he said, you can't explain that. And it was my understanding that no, that it couldn't be taken off, the conservation restriction. So I want to see something in writing that says that we can do it.
But
You're saying we can't do that?
We can't. It's the rules of a CR. If you put a CR on it, it's approved by the state. It has to be approved by the state. It has to be approved by the Conservation Commission, the Board of Selectmen, and the state. So the state really controls how you can adopt or revoke a CR, and they have very specific rules. So unfortunately, we can't do that. But I think, again, I think it's important for the board to examine the CR. You know, in the past, maybe we haven't emphasized enough that, you know, whatever we adopt here is going to be the way it's going to be. So it would be very important for you to see it ahead of time and put your comments on it, and then we can come to some kind of decision about, you know, what it is you're saying, like adding, you know, certain structures to it maybe makes sense.
Now, don't you think we ought to turn this down and then wait until we have that information that we can look at it and vote on it?
No, because we can't even go down the road of a CR until this part gets approved. This part probably will take about a year, probably 8 to 12 months to go through the state legislature. And once that happens, it doesn't mean, all it did is, like Dan said, it gives us a permission to move forward with the next step of putting the CR on. So really the crucial step is when the CR is put before us to say, what do we want in it?
Mike, let me ask you this.
Sure.
I heard that, I think Rebecca said, I mean, we already have a conservation restriction on it, so why would we want to negotiate with the state, negotiate away our rights on this property when we have control over it now anyways? I mean, so why do we have to negotiate with anyone? I mean, we have restrictions on it in place.
No, they're not the same kind of restrictions as a conservation restriction.
What-
They are kind of, it's statutory restrictions that don't really give us any flexibility or to be able to say, don't do this or do this, which you get with a CR.
So without the CR, you couldn't have a bicycle on there? Is that-
No, I don't think that, but there's anything that's in a CR, things like building upon it, what kind of building you're putting on it, what's the purpose of it. They're all, it's a very generalized thing. It's called Article 97, and that's what's on at least 2 of those 3 parcels. So it doesn't really allow us to define what the use of the property is and then what kind of restrictions or allowances do we want on it.
But doesn't the town have that discretion right now?
Not really.
We own it, right?
Yes, but we can't violate what the general state law says about Article 97, and we can't disallow anything that we don't want to be on it that Article 97 might permit.
So if we got the legislature to approve a CMR, Code of Mass Reg, we could maybe expand the use of that, the rights on that property outside of the statutory, I guess, limitations. Subject to our review. So they could modify it. Or at least, clarify it and delineate it.
Yes.
Maybe we can get more rights. I don't know.
I mean, it's about, again, what do we want the use of it to be? Maybe there's some other special use that we want to designate for the parcels. I don't know.
I understand that, but if we're imposing regulations on us, we might be tying our hands behind our back. I mean, it's like, the unforeseen. So right now, it's a blank canvas. No?
Not really.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
According to this, land protected by Article 97 requires a two-thirds vote of the legislation before it can be disposed of. Once it's got a CR from the Greenbelt, it can never be disposed of. And that's why Greenbelt pushes so hard to get as much land as they can, because it will always be, conservation land. So we could convert the land that's under 97 if the town chose to.
It's power to the people. Maybe we want to sell it, or maybe you want water rights to it. I don't know if they strike oil there. Maybe we want it. I don't know. I don't like regulations. I mean, it's just like it goes against the grain of like we're going to self-impose a regulation on us when we don't. No one's asking us to, other than.
I know, but like I said, we already have these things in place, and we haven't had any problem with them. It isn't like we're having to, annually turn down all these requests, I mean, it's, I believe that the residents of our town are very happy with what we've done to protect the properties. And, I mean, there's not, like we've got all these other large properties that we are going to get or interested in. These are it. Some of these parcels, Vesey Park, Center Street, Meadow Pond, Town Forest, those are our 4 big, large properties. And I think the town has previously voted to buy them when necessary and protect them when necessary. I
Ask a
think we should
question?
continue.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just to go back, how did we acquire these parcels? Were they donated to us as property to be kept as open space? We didn't purchase these, correct?
No, well, Town Forest,
Oh,
was
no, the ones that are in
donated.
this article.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, there's
Okay.
three
Yeah.
parcels, it's made up of 3 parcels. So the first is Town Forest, that was donated to the town long time ago as a town forest.
Right,
The second one is a 10-acre parcel that abuts Town Forest that we traded for a small piece of land on Wood Street so that a developer could finish being able to build a house there. And
Okay.
so he gave us 10 acres to add to Town Forest. And then we received the 8-acre parcel as again, a donation by another developer who had some land and was interested in, it not being used. He couldn't really build on it, so he thought that it would be best to protect it through the commission, so he gave it to the town. So that's how we acquired, in this case, all 3 of those. They're really pretty much donations.
donations with the donor specifying that it be donated as open space and protected. That was their intention?
Yes,
or-
well, that's why they donated them,
Yes. Well, I know.
to the
know.
commission. Otherwise, they could have donated to, the electric department or the
Right.
water department.
So when they donated to the Conservation Commission?
Yes, I mean, except
Okay.
for the town forest has a long history
Right,
that,
understood.
I don't want to go into, but
Okay, right.
Anyone else?
So is there like a benefit to putting it under the Greenbelt other than just they're in charge?
no. The benefit is, as I mentioned, is that it kind of takes the burden off the town to be protecting these parcels. Essex County Greenbelt comes in every year. They're required to inspect it, do a
Okay.
report on it, making sure that people aren't encroaching on the property or something like that. Whereas right now, they're under the conservation restriction to do that, and we don't have a lot of time or people power to go out and check everything. So it really is a benefit to the town because it's something that we should be doing, but we don't have the people to do it, and so it kind of puts the burden on them.
Right, so we'd have to hire somebody to go out and inspect this
Yes.
properties? Okay.
All right, I'll move it. All those in favor?
Did we have a motion?
Did we? Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I made a
motion
motion.
second.
Remember.
I'll make it again. I make a motion to recommend favorable action.
I seconded it.
Okay.
All those in favor of favorable action? Mark? No. No. No.
Favorable?
Uh,
No, vote, took a
Okay.
vote for favorable.
Yeah, 2 up and 3 down. Sorry, Mike.
That's all right.
Does that make it removed from the warrant then?
No, that's just the
That's it.
recommendation.
Okay.
We,
The board wants to vote otherwise.
Oh, okay.
if we don't move favorable, we move unfavorable, so we move unfavorable.
Moderator doesn't like upside-down motions at the town meeting.
Should I revote it, all those in favor of unfavorable
No, it's
action?
okay.
All right, we'll get
It's
it
fine.
twice, I mean, if we
I
make
got
a
it.
motion on that, Mark will clarify it.
Favorable.
Mark
So-
will clarify it.
Let the record show, Board of Selectmen unfavorable. All right, what's up next there? We have
Article 11.
another one, Article 11, to see if the town would vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant a conservation restriction to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation for no consideration for land identified by the town of Groveland assessors as map 52, lot 3A, Washington Street, and map 39, lot 68, 733 Salem Street, for the purpose of preserving said properties in perpetuity as open space and for passive recreational use pursuant to Article 97 of the amendments of the Massachusetts Constitution, as may be required by Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 12, with the fee to be retained by the town of Groveland under the care, custody, and control of the Groveland Conservation Commission, or otherwise take any action relative thereto. So, is this very similar to Article 10?
This one is a little different because this is an existing CR on VZ Park that's held by the state DCR. And what we're doing in this case is we're just adding two abutting parcels. One we purchased, we'll be purchasing with CPA money, which requires it be under a conservation restriction, and adding a donated parcel that we acquired last year on the other side of the park. So these are both abutting. They're small properties. One's 3.5 acres, the other one is less than an acre. And they'll just be added to the existing CR. No changes in the CR. It just puts them under the same umbrella, again, to be able to minimize the amount of work that we have to do on these parcels. But again, we have to get state legislature approval because of Article 97.
It's part of VZ Park, so I would move favorable.
I'll second that.
So why do we want to give some authority and jurisdiction to the state if you manage VC Park? Again, you know, it's like, why do we want to give anything to Beacon Hill? I don't want to give them anything.
That's just the way the rules are in this state.
I don't like the state. Has anyone noticed that? I mean, you know, it's like I go against the grain of this state. I don't know, you know, how did I end up being born here? Anyone? Kathy?
Well, I think we've spoken of this, at least one of these parcels in a prior year's meeting. I know about the one that, when that street was being built, that they had a piece of land on the back
Yes.
that abutted VZ Park, and it made a lot of sense to donate it. And I mean, everything that's able to be done at VZ keeps being done, even with the restrictions. You get to go sledding there, you get to go boating there, they have festivals there, and, I mean,
Goats? Don't forget
the goats, yep,
Goats,
let's not
yes,
forget the goats. They
yes.
are fun. But,
Right.
but I mean, everything that people have asked to do at VZ, we've been able to do. I don't know if you've had to turn anybody down for something, but to me, the restriction, it's already under that CR, correct?
Yes.
And it's part of the same park, so why wouldn't we want all the property to be continuous in that CR? That would make sense.
Ed?
Question. If there's a conservation restriction on a VZ Park, how do you
Yes.
get away with renovation of the buildings up there?
Well, because the conservation restriction doesn't say that you can't renovate the building. All it says is that if the buildings were to burn down or be destroyed somehow and not exist anymore, they couldn't be rebuilt. So that was all put out when we originally purchased it back in 1996.
That makes sense. What's that?
Why couldn't you rebuild them if they're historical?
Well, once they're gone, then they're not historic anymore. They're historically gone.
Build like a Mayflower replica there or something, you know, with a, you know?
Hopefully, that doesn't happen in my
They're
lifetime.
not tourist, you know, traps. I don't know. I don't get the restrictions, you know? I don't.
Well, we could vote to secede from Massachusetts and maybe go find a better
not
state.
That's the
Give him any
greatest thing I've
idea.
heard you say, Mike,
Do
you
not
know?
give him ideas.
We'll be our own.
Conservation is going to allow that? They'll sponsor that article?
Yes.
I want to be like an Indian reservation, have a casino here or something, you know? Sell tobacco.
Okay,
All right.
I'll move favorable action. There we go.
All those in favor of favorable action? I'm going to say no. No red tape.
Thank you.
I lose, 4-1. All right, next up, general bylaws. See if the town will vote to amend Chapter 235 earth removal of the Town of Groveland general bylaw by amending the language to remove all reference to a special permit and refer instead to a permit, or take any other action relative thereto. Town administrator. So is this to make it easier so that we could issue the permits instead of like ZBA?
No, this is a housekeeping item. Currently, the way that it's written is that it's a special permit, and we do not have that authority under Massachusetts General Law 40A. That is only granted under the zoning bylaw, not the general bylaw. So the Board of Selectmen may issue a permit, but they cannot issue a special permit under the general bylaw, only the zoning bylaw. So the Attorney General, in review of our bylaw, when we did the codification, had asked us to correct that issue. So it is a housekeeping item only. So the Board of Selectmen still has the permit granting authority. It is just removing the word special.
Just a label.
So move favorable recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Board moves favorable. All right. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to amend its general bylaw, Chapter 259, Section 1, to delete the strike-through language and add the language in bold as follows. Section 259-1, consent of owner required for activity on private property. Amended for 2023. ATM by Article 16. What does that mean, ATM?
Annual town meeting.
Annual town meeting, all right. By Article 16. So we're jumping ahead. There's a 16 that this references, and we haven't got to that yet.
This is last year.
Oh, that's right. So we already adopted Article 16?
Correct.
So what do we need this for? We made a mistake?
So as part of our codification process with general code, they went through and they made or insubstantial changes based upon the language. And when it was reviewed by the Attorney General, like the article above, it was noted that it's inconsistent and conflicts with the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, and therefore the Massachusetts General Law takes precedent, and our bylaws should be updated to reflect what is required under Massachusetts General Law. So it is essentially moving forward with the language as dictated under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131.
So I recommend favorable action.
Second.
So no one can fire or discharge or hunt on private property?
Without permission.
Well, we're striking out the language that says no person shall hunt,
No, and then
fire.
it says you can without permission. You can't do it without permission. It says in the new thingy, right below it.
So we're going to allow people to walk across private property and hunt.
Yes.
If they have permission and they have it on them.
So not fish, want to travel without permission.
Dan, it looks like, the way I'm reading it, it looks like that you're allowed to do it unless the owner or the tenant conspicuously posted notices.
Yeah, that's like up in Maine. You can hunt on anyone's land as long as they don't tell you there's no hunting.
Well, it says such consent shall be carried at all times, so that's not just a sign. You have to have some kind of consent thing. I don't know.
That's vague. Shall be carried at all times in writing, I suppose.
I suppose.
So how's that different from what they struck out before?
I don't really know.
It says the same thing, but it's wordier.
Yep,
Wordier. Is that a word?
more words. It's what they're paid for. Doesn't seem to say much anything different. Or it changed out the Department of Conservation and Planning and Recreation to our economic development thing. But,
So in the article, or excuse me, in the information that was submitted by the Attorney General when we submitted the first change, it says that the existing bylaw text in section 259-1 prohibits hunting on any private property except with the written consent of the owner or legal occupant thereof. If this text was before the Attorney General's office today, we would disapprove it because the town is preempted from imposing requirements on hunters that conflict with and are preempted by General Law, Chapter 131. General Law, Chapter 131 preempts towns from imposing requirements on hunters by placing the regulation of hunting solely within the regulatory power of the state's Department of Fish and Game, Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. While Chapter 131 does not expressly preempt local regulation of hunting, its broad scope and the extensive powers granted to the director of the DFW to regulate hunting indicate that Chapter 131 occupies the field of hunting regulation and that the legislature intends that the town be preempted from local regulation of hunting except as explicitly provided in Chapter 131.
So this is a pro-hunter change.
sounds like it. I think so. Gives permission from the owner.
All right, I'm pro-hunting, coyote hunting, get 'em. All right. Did
I
you
made a
move?
motion, didn't I?
You made a motion?
I think so.
Jason seconded it. Any discussion? I'll go along with it. Move favorable.
Are we voting?
Yeah, we're voting. Edward?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
5-0, unanimous. All right. Article 14, there's a lot of these. We'll be here till midnight.
Do you want me to brief the article essentially, so you don't have to read the actual language?
There's one type.
Tell us why.
I'm sorry?
Article 14.
Select board, it's for the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Board of Selectmen one place, select board in the other. You'll see it.
Okay, so for Article 14, the Conservation Commission is asking to be allowed to have a junior associate member. That member would not have voting ability, but they would be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and they would have 3 non-voting associate members who shall not count towards a quorum, and they would be able to participate in the discussion but would not hold a vote.
So they reducing the voting members?
They're not reducing the voting members. They want to add 3 non-voting members that do not constitute to, or do not contribute to the quorum of the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission, I believe, currently has 9 members. 7 members, excuse me.
Why do you need more, Mike?
It's popular.
It's just like too many cooks in the kitchen. I mean, what do you need more for? 9's not enough? Why don't we have 50?
He has 7 now, 7.
Commissioners in training.
Like probies.
Shadows.
Yeah.
I don't care. You can have 20 of them. I don't care. Ed, what do you got to say?
Under Section 111-36, the 3 non-voting associate members, there's nothing in there that says that they will be residents of the town of Groveland, as the previous section 35.
Where, let me see.
No, it doesn't say that, but I don't know if any board is prevented from having non-resident members.
Well, they have to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, so
right.
you could hash it out on the board, right? So there's a kind of a, I mean, if you got a superstar who wants to come in from Boston, I mean, it's discretionary, right?
Right.
Well, does that satisfy your question, Ed? I mean, somebody's good and they want to do it, I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I don't know why they just don't add the same as the one before, the residents of Groveland, but yeah, it explained it fine.
All right. All those in favor?
With the correction, just that you have Board of Selectmen and Select Board. You have to
I saw
one or
that.
the other, yep. With that added.
Select Board?
Well, I'm saying it's.
That'll make you happy.
No, it's in there 2 different ways. Don't be starting on
we'll have the, woke, gender-neutral select board language.
Okay, but again, it says Board of Selectmen in one place, you just need to make it match, that's all.
All right, that passed, right?
Yep,
5-0.
yep.
All right, this is my favorite. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to amend its general bylaw, Chapter 370, unregistered motor vehicles, Section 370-2 to 370-5 regarding unregistered motor vehicles to include the following changes, bold and underlined, new, cross-out, removed. Whatever that means. Explanation. Chapter 370, Section 370-2 does not limit the number of unregistered vehicles allowed by permit. The language proposed limits the number of unregistered vehicles by permit to no more than 2. And there's more verbiage on this, and 100-day requirements, and $10 a day for violations, so,
Mr. Chair, so essentially.
why do we need this?
The intent of the article is that they will clarify compliance and increase the penalty for violations and change the authority from the Board of Selectmen to the building commissioner, who is out there making these inspections and dealing with the public on a day-to-day basis.
Has there been a problem?
There's been reports of having more than 2 unregistered vehicles on properties and getting dangerously close to junkyards and things of that nature. So there's been neighbors who have asked for enforcement to be taken. When they learn that the fee, or the fine, excuse me, is $5, they kind of, say that's not exactly a fee that would make you not move forward. And then also you'd have to wait to go before the Board of Selectmen in order to get any action taken.
Can I just say, add to it that, I don't know if anybody remembers, but I think it's West Street, the back street over to Georgetown. There was a house on that street, and for years, other residents complained about it, and I don't think the town was able to do anything. And then eventually, it got fenced up and declared a hazardous site, and now that neighborhood has to live with that fenced-up hazardous site because there wasn't, for some reason, they were unable to inspect or see what was going on. So it's kind of like, I didn't realize we were the ultimate authority for this, for the unregistered vehicles. I thought that the building inspector would have already had that, because certainly I never thought we had to go out and look around. So I would be in favor of designating it to our Department of Inspection Services, just for starters, so that if somebody complains and thinks there's something not right in their neighborhood or somewhere, they can at least get somebody to inspect it and determine if everything's okay.
I'm not against inspection, but to limit it to 2, I mean, there's a difference between somebody has a driveway that's, 2 feet from the abutter, and then you got somebody who has 100 acres or 500 acres or 5,000 acres, and they got 3 cars, and you tell them you can only have 2. So why? It seems like we ought to maintain some sort of like common sense and
But it's not just cars.
discretion on
It's
that.
unregistered. If you don't, also means you're
So
not,
what does that mean? You got a 19, whatever, Model T, 1912 or something, and you got
You don't
3 of them,
register?
and you can't, and you haven't registered your antique car, and you can't have it on the property. So I don't know, and it could be in a garage too.
yeah.
What if it's out of sight, out of mind in a garage? Guys like restoring, GTOs from 1967 or something. You got 3 of them. Oh, you can't have that.
think-
They were going to fine you.
Am I wrong? Is there some
You know?
discretion on this?
Or race cars or anything.
No, read it. I think there's some discretion when he does the inspection. Is there discretion on it, or is it limited?
Is there some discretion or?
Like if he goes and somebody has 2 antique cars and they have it in a special garage and, there's no problem or anything.
It says not within an enclosed building. So if he has that enclosed building where he's storing antique vehicles, then that wouldn't be something that would be in violation of the bylaw. But if you're talking about, the length of your driveway, that would be something that would be under jurisdiction. But if you're properly housing, storing antique cars, that wouldn't be something that we're looking at.
Jason.
And it says that it would just require a permit to keep more than 2 unregistered motor vehicles, so it'd be something that they would have to come forth and get a permit for. So
So-
it could be done properly, so it wouldn't become a just a heap of rotting metal in your yard.
So we have discretion to allow for
A permit.
3, 4, 5?
So a permit to keep more than 2 unregistered motor vehicles on the premises not within an enclosed building after a public hearing for which the abutters of the premises have received notice, et cetera, et cetera. So it would fall under the jurisdiction in terms of the permit that would be received under the Board of Selectmen. But in terms of the violations of not having had a permit would fall under the jurisdiction of the building commissioner, who would be able to enforce a $10 fine for each day of the violation commencing 10 days from the receipt of written notice to the property owner. That notice would entail details as to the permit process that they would need to go through the Board of Selectmen to allow them to keep those vehicles on the property and give the Board of Selectmen the discretion to make sure that that wasn't a nuisance and the property, as you described earlier, was providing a buffer or a screening to the neighbor property owners.
And it requires a public hearing,
Correct.
unlike other permits, right?
Correct.
Why do we need the public hearing?
To ensure the abutters are notified properly.
So they can all squawk and tell you how to live. So there's a balancing act there on rights of the owners versus the rights of the neighbors to complain.
You can amend the language if you'd like.
Yeah. I don't like anyone telling me what to do. So I'm against the reg.
Well, except that this is
Ed.
to prevent a hazard.
Sorry, I'll come back to Kathy.
Yep.
Just expanding upon what Dan had mentioned about somebody that might have 2 antique vehicles, and it states in here, not in an enclosed building, but which brings to mind, these people purchase these plastic or like a tent affair. Some of them call them a garage in a box, where they erect them on the property for, to put a vehicle in for the winter maybe, a boat, an unregistered vehicle that they happen to take off. They take off the road for the winter. Those are not buildings because they don't need a building permit to erect those. So will that affect anybody that's using those canvas or whatever buildings to put a vehicle in? Would that affect that? Because it's not a building. Because you don't need a building permit, according to the building inspector, to erect one of those.
I don't have a definite answer for you. I think that even though it says building, I think because it's enclosed and not on the property, I think that would definitely be within the intent of keeping it outside of the permit requirements, but I am not the building commissioner, so I would need to verify with him if that was in fact the intent when they say building.
It does say enclosed building, and that's not a building.
Understood?
There you go. And if it's got wheels on it and trailer or something, that's not a building. Kathy?
Well, okay, so the 2 things, I think, what Ed's pointing out, I think is a good observation, because there is a house, I know from my walks, if you go down, turn right before you get to Carter's Ice Cream, there's a gentleman that does have a few of those, and he has some, I think they're sport cars or something in them. And they're totally enclosed, you know, it doesn't look bad or anything, and they're well-maintained. But I think it gets back to, I think, maybe some modification to make sure that you are not targeting someone like that who has, you know, he has 2 or 3 of those enclosures for his collection of cars. Getting back to the house, though, on that West Street, and again, I believe it's still fenced in as a hazardous site because of what happened there over the years and because nothing was done. And that neighborhood has to live with that. And that devalues everybody in that neighborhood. So, I mean, yes, you have a right to do things on your own property, but when your actions start to impact the public by contamination and degrading your property to the point where it becomes a hazardous site, then there has to be some stopping point for that. And, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to drive around counting cars. This kind of thing usually is brought to the attention of either us, right now it'd be us, I guess, because a neighbor complains. Is that right? I mean, we don't drive around looking for who has more than one car or whatever. So to say that the complaint would go first to the building inspector and he would go out and see what's going on, that makes sense to me. I mean, otherwise it's going to come to us. What are we going to do? We're going to ask the building inspector to go out and check it out? Right? This way it can come through the town during the regular administration of town business. It can get inspected. Makes sense. But I mean, I wouldn't mind some modification on the wording as far as that it doesn't have to be a structure that's built into the ground. I think one of those enclosures that Ed referred to, Selectman Watson referred to, is in use by people who do collect cars. So that's okay.
My problem is with the language.
Yep.
If the issue is we don't want junk cars on people's properties and old dilapidated yellow buses on the front lawn, then we should say that. But the fact that they're registered or unregistered matters not to me. I think it's you could have 3 beautiful Ferraris that are all shiny in the driveway and they don't have plates on them. I don't care. There'd still be 3. There wouldn't be eyesores to me. And all the neighbors would complain, well, they don't have plates on them. Well, I don't really care. I would like to see 3 Ferraris in your driveway.
Like to
So
have-
I think we need to adopt something that says you can't have junk cars in your yard. And what's the definition of a junk car? It's like the obscenity, really, you know when you see it. So I don't like the reg because it's overreaching and like I said, you could have 3 beautiful cars that aren't registered, and I don't want to do the Department of Motor Vehicles any favors making someone register a car that they don't want to register. If they're not putting it on the road, why do you got to register?
Mr. Chairman, I think we already have this unregistered cars bylaw, am I right?
Correct.
Yes, and unfortunately, it comes to us. So if somebody complains, it comes to us.
I've never seen one. Been on the board, this is
I
my
haven't
5th
seen it
year.
either, but I'm
Never
just saying, if it happens, it comes to us. And wouldn't you rather it go, through the town administrator to the inspection department?
I'll take the burden on my shoulders. I want to see the cars. We ready to move it?
Well,
Yeah, move the question.
Move the question. All
I'd
set.
like to table the question and let the building inspector look to revise it slightly.
I'd like, is there a way if we delay this, is there anyone listening, anyone out there that cares that might have 3 beautiful cars that don't have registrations on them, would they want to chime in? I mean, I'm sure they could bring it up at town meeting, but,
You could vote to remove it from the warrant, or you could vote unfavorable recommendation, or,
Is there time to revise it at all?
I don't know if we have intensive meeting prior to Friday. As we had mentioned, if we do, then we can get that done, and we can table it and get clarification. But I definitely, like we had mentioned, we want to post the warrant on Friday.
And this would include, not just cars, it could be Harley
Boats.
Davidsons or something, right? A boat,
Anything.
anything. I don't
So-
like it.
Okay, so,
But it already exists, it's here.
Well, they're not gonna, why do we want to make it worse, increase the penalty on something I disagree with? And
I know the building commissioner is trying to log on right now, so he might have some
okay,
more to weigh in.
Jim Scanlon.
is he there? We'll ask him, does he want the power?
Don't think it's a power grab.
But at least then he could answer Selectman Watson's concern about the structure.
I don't know. How about a motion? I'll motion to table it.
Until we hear from, maybe we'll hear from him, we can go forward on the next article?
Be logging in or?
We got a lot on the docket tonight. Can we circle back on it?
Yeah, we could take it off the table. I
As,
made a motion to
as,
table.
Jen Psaki used to say, well, we're going to circle back.
What do you think?
We can go back.
Okay,
Motion to continue out of order.
thank you. Let's go.
Do you agree with that? You second my
I'll
motion?
second it.
All right, we're gonna go out of order here. We're gonna play leapfrog on. All right.
Take a vote on
Yeah, take a vote on it. We're gonna,
Motion to go out of order,
motion to
right?
skip it, yeah,
Okay.
for the moment. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to amend its general bylaw, Article 4, Roman numeral 4, Council on Aging to include the following changes, bold new, and cross out removed.
Mr. Chair, it's a very long article with a
Yes.
lot of different changes, but the intent is to add their mission of the Council on Aging to their bylaw. It's also to change all of the locations in which it says seniors, elderly, or the aged to older adults to coincide with the terminology that is now used. So as you'll see, older population instead of elderly population. The other larger changes are in terms of appointing authority that they would like to be given to the Director of the Council on Aging. Currently, it is under the Council on Aging as authority to appoint all staff. And then there's just some other housekeeping items about their process and procedure, about signing off on vouchers and payments, and the organization of their nominating committee, their personnel committee, their finance committee. So it's just updating their committee language that they have. So those are the major changes within the bylaw. If you scan through that, you'll see adding the mission statement, changing the appointing authority, making it the older adults instead of elderly, and then some housekeeping items such as those committee.
What's wrong with elderly?
You're not there yet.
Your elders, respect your elders. Now you're gonna respect the older population? Come on,
That's
guys. I mean, respect your elders. I mean, I don't know if anyone does anymore, but, I'm gonna be there, like, I'm already there. So is this just a PC modification?
Was it, well, I mean, no, the bigger concern is the appointing authority. Currently, the Board of Selectmen has no appointing authority over the Council on Aging in general. In all other departments, the Board of Selectmen has the authority over the department head. So this would remove all appointing authority from the Council on Aging and the Board of Selectmen and put it under the jurisdiction of the Council on Aging.
So if I could, though,
Yeah.
just point out, in our history, I mean, what I've noticed is that everything ends up coming back to us. Like when they want to give a raise and the money's not in their budget, and then they try to vote it, then it comes back to us, and then we're tied up for several meetings trying to untangle everything. So typically, the departments, I like the fact when the departments do their interviews, they choose their people, they tell us why they want that person, and then we review it, we see the resume, and we appoint, and it makes sense. And this, I'm just not sure about why all of this needs to be in a bylaw and couldn't be just in their policies, a lot of this. You know what I mean? I saw do other towns have this long a bylaw that gets into these specifics? Because I feel like the more you tie yourself into the specifics as a bylaw, then the only way to change it is to go back to town meeting. And does everything have to be in a bylaw that's in here, or could it be in policies?
Everything doesn't have to be in a bylaw. Some of
Okay.
the standard language that they're using is standard language that you'll find in many of the other Council on Aging bylaws that are in our neighboring community. So
Okay.
some of it's not completely out of line. It is longer than a couple of the other bylaws that I've seen, but nothing's out of the, overly stated. But you could in fact put some of that more into a policy rather than a bylaw.
Okay, so right now, though, we've had like the Council on Aging they hire their own staff, correct?
Correct.
So you have the council meets, they do interviews, they have if I remember right, they had a subcommittee to do their interviews, right?
They have a personnel committee, but they're looking to make it the director. So the director would have the ability to interview and to appoint staff.
Okay, and I don't understand why they don't want to they could still have the director participate in the interviews with the council. I'm just wondering why this particular council on aging wants to change that Because what if some other, they have limits on how long they can stay on the council, and every 2 years they have to get off. So when the next people come on the council, what if they say, I don't like this, why did you change it? It's a pretty big change to not,
It's huge change. It centralizes the power in the director, and there's, I'm not, it's non-specific on this, but, then is that just going to invite, down the road, cronyism and nepotism and lack of oversight? I mean, it's a power grab, it seems like. I don't like it.
so what if we just go with the word change on the, is there anything else that has to be changed?
Like I said, most of the changes, like we said, are more language oriented in terms of housekeeping, like changing elderly to older adults, changing and adding their mission statement, supporting their mission statement, changing a word from membership to nominating, again, redefining their roles within and their committees within. The major items are under section 111-17 staff. Under C, D, and E, it gives them, the director, the authority to screen, interview applicants, and hire, and it gives the Council on Aging Director the authority to terminate any staff position that the director supervises. And in the absence of the director, the board oversees the assistant director. Everything else is more, again, housekeeping items that are already in there. They're just moving sections to a different section, and again, changing those small words like suggest amendments to instead of amend. So those are the only substantial changes that are in the bylaw.
You say only. We in the past have had disciplinary hearings and executive session on employees, right? And we decided against the recommendation of the director at the time.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I think, leaving it the way it is, the Board of Selectmen has discretion to be somewhat of an independent party and decide whether or not someone's going to get hired or fired. I don't think it ought to be all in one person, hiring, firing. Okay, this is absolutely a centralized, power in one person. It's just, it's dangerous. I don't like it. So I'm going to oppose it categorically. I think it's ill-conceived. I don't like the language, and I'm not Mr. PC on. I don't have a problem with elderly. I don't like being called old. I'd rather go with elderly. I think it's, call me old. Call me old. Step outside.
Older.
Show you who's old.
Older.
Jason, you haven't said anything.
I know that, looking at some of the other towns, the appointing authority, like in Walpole, Sudbury, is all the Board of Selectmen. And I think that is something we should consider when we look at this here, because right now it's the Council on Aging. And when we focus so hard on bringing the entire town together, but we keep allowing some of this power to be outside of the Board of Selectmen, I think can work against that.
We're elected officials, so, there's a way to, you don't like us, you do something about it, but, appointed authorities, it's a bureaucracy, and they're insulated, and you can't do anything to affect change on it. They get appointed for terms, and then you're gonna give the power of hire and fire in one person? No. Don't like it. There should be some oversight, Board of Selectmen, people hold us accountable periodically. At least you have some oversight, power to the people, but this, to vest more power in one person in a bureaucracy, I don't like the structure, it's defective. Ed?
Seems like it's going pretty well with the Council on Aging Board, which has been for quite a while. And just a comment, and just two questions. What's the reasoning behind the Finance Board not approving, and why would they weigh in on an item that is not a money article?
So I know that the chair is at the podium, but in terms of the financial, it is financial because we have to pay the unemployment, we have to pay the individual salary, we have to pay the individual's benefits, we have to pay for workers' comp, we have to pay for all of those, and we currently are paying for all of those out of the operational fund. So it is a financial article because having that centralized within the department without any oversight of the Board of Selectmen is essentially a financial implication to the town.
Okay, so essentially what's happening now is the unemployment and workman's comp or whatever is being paid out of the Council on Aging budget?
Out of the operational fund, not their budget. It's under it's under our retirement fund, it's under our health insurance fund, it's under our legal budget, it's under our workers' comp, it's under our property casualty and liability insurance. All of that covers our employees and is covered under the operational, not the Council on Aging specific budget.
And then if this passes, it changes?
It changes under the director's purview. So they would have the ability to fire somebody, and if they did not fire them per protocol, and they could sue the town.
We get stuck with the bill.
And we would have a legal
Okay.
fee. If there's a workers' comp,
All right.
workers' comp type claim, that would come under the director as the appointing authority's jurisdiction. So that would be something that they would need to, we would need to pay for. And the Board of Selectmen wouldn't have any oversight over that because they're not the appointing authority over the director, nor are they the appointing authority over the staff.
Okay, all right. That's,
So we would create an autonomous collective of sorts, and then they stick us with the bill, or they fire somebody, and or lay them off, or whatever you want, and they collect unemployment, and maybe yeah, it's just, it's terrible. What would you like to say? What's your name for the record, please?
My name is
Welcome.
Melissa Baker. I'm the chair of the Finance Board.
Welcome.
I just wanted to give you some of the insight into our recommendation. We had a lot of the same concerns that are, you guys are discussing today about whether this is creating an autonomous structure outside of what we have been trying to do with the rest of the town government in creating something that is cohesive and applicable to all of our departments. And we also had concerns why this article was being brought up kind of at the last minute with really no communication and an opportunity to really have a full discussion about the reasons behind this, what the purpose is of it, and, have a full, broad discussion that wasn't, the 11th hour trying to make a decision.
I agree with you. I think it's ill-conceived, and I don't even want to go towards the motives of this. I just think it's dead on arrival, in my opinion. Awful. So, that's my 2 cents.
Question, has this been reviewed by our town attorney?
Reviewed by the town attorney for legal, like whether or not it has.
Whether it's legal, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's mainly, because I mean, they crossed out everything to do with the town's personnel policies. And again, I think that you're putting a lot of authority in a council on aging director. And it doesn't, like, when I've seen this kind of authority given to a town manager, there are checks and balances that the Board of Selectmen can meet, and within 2 weeks can vote to stop the termination. And we haven't even yet come up with the template for how our town administrator's authority could be, because we're still working that through. So I think this is very premature in the evolution of our government formation. You know what I mean? We just started down the path of town administrator, and we're just seeing what kinds of authority might be appropriate and how to have a check and balance system. And to me, this comes flying ahead of all that and could pose a lot of difficulties financially and otherwise for the town. So I think that having that, right now, the way it is, the Council on Aging, so an employee that's unhappy with what the director is saying can go to the Council on Aging and meet with them, and then if they want to go further, they can ask to meet with the personnel director, correct? I mean, what would be the step? An unhappy employee in the Council on Aging, what would be the steps right now under the current system?
Under the current system, they would
Yes.
go to their appointing authority, which would be they would go to their direct supervisor, which would be the director, and the director would be then, if they could not mitigate, would bring it to the Council on Aging, and then the Council on Aging could take action.
Okay. And so and right now, if we change it, they would just
They wouldn't even have the Council on Aging, which is is appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
Right, and they,
Just go to the director, and the director would be able to make the determination, who's then appointed by the Council on Aging.
okay, and so then they wouldn't be able to come over to the town's personnel director, because we don't have any authority over
They're
that.
still not able to under the current structure.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
their appointing authority is the Council on Aging. It is not the Board of Selectmen.
So the chairman's correct, it's an awful lot of power in one hand.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to remove it from the warrant, from the articles. That's my motion. I want to remove it.
I'll second
I
that.
don't want to vote,
And remove the entire article, including changing the stuff, the language to the older adults and some of the other.
I want to delete it. I don't want to move unfavorable. I don't want it.
Right, I don't feel it's up to us to edit the article.
Procedurally.
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Procedurally, I just.
Procedurally, I motion to remove it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on the removal of the article in its entirety?
Well, I think they're not going to be too thrilled with us.
I don't care. I'm not thrilled about what they presented to be tonight. Nobody seems to be concerned about my feelings lately, so,
Okay.
all right, let's go. All those in favor of removal? There you go. See ya.
And Mr. Joslin has joined us remotely for the prior article.
Yeah, all right, introduce yourself for the records. I got some questions.
Sure, Sam Jocelyn.
Good to see you, Sam.
Building Commissioner, you too.
Long time no see. So is this a junk car article, or can it be somehow tweaked so, somebody can have some really nice, like, classic muscle cars? They all shined up GTOs I like, some other ones, maybe some Challengers or something, without the neighbors
Well,
squawk.
pretty much, my idea with this was currently the enforcement goes to selectmen. And I know when Denise was here and now with Rebecca here, they end up writing enforcement orders. I mean, the fine is $5 per day, which going to 10 really doesn't make a huge difference. It was really just taking it out of your hands and putting it in mine, just as someone who does enforcement. I'm happy to have you squash it and keep the enforcement with you guys. That would thrill me more than anything, but I just figured it made sense.
Just the practicality question. So you get, a guy who's got a junkyard. I mean, there's like missing doors. I mean, they're all rust buckets, it's got the, iconic yellow bus in the backyard, full of stuff. Me living in it, maybe. So neighbor squawks. Right now, can you do anything about that, or you're like powerless?
I turn it over to the town administrator to have the selectmen issue an order to remove.
Okay.
Unless they can have one unregistered vehicle. So if it's just the one bus, they're all good.
All
If they
right.
have two buses, I turn it over to them. This would just save me the issue of giving it to the town administrator to take enforcement action, and I just do it directly.
All right, so there was somebody that was before us at a meeting, I don't know, not too long ago, and they purchased a business, and I guess it had some existing car parts on it. So is there any, like, you buy a property and it's got all of these, abandoned vehicles on it, unregistered? I mean, is there a grace period where they can clean it up? And if it's cost prohibitive, is there any discretion to work with these people, or you just lower the fines on them and give them a cease and desist and start hitting them? So it seems, some people are reasonable and they just need time and money to do it.
Yep, and with anyone, I'm very reasonable and willing to work with them as long as they're moving in a forward motion. I'm happy to work with them. My goal is always compliance, not punishment. Again, this just takes the compliance out of your hands, puts it in mine. Again, happy to leave it with you. I'm more than happy to leave it with you, but again, it just seemed kind of silly when typically I'm the one that's sent out to view the violation, assess the violation, take pictures of it, write up notification, and then have someone else send it. Just sort of takes the middleman out. Really, I don't want any more work, but it just seemed to make sense.
And in theory, if we had a problem with you being heavy-handed or maybe doing nothing, we could always call you to the carpet and say, what are you doing and what are you not doing, right? So there's still some oversight in the Board of Selectmen in terms of an executive session and saying, Sam or the next guy, next woman, what are you doing?
You are my appointing authority. I answer to you as far as enforcement of zoning goes. If you do not like what I'm doing, it is up to you to either move me forward or not.
Okay.
So, yes,
All right.
you
I
still
like
have
that.
the authority.
So there's always a check and
It-
balance.
it's just- Yeah, I just figured it made sense. It's kind of silly, after the fine from $5
So
to $10.
it's more streamlined administratively for you just to go talk to the people and say, what can we do?
Yeah, and we only run into these maybe once or twice a year, if that. Usually, most of the people, it's temporary. If I get a neighbor complaint, I go out. They know that they're not supposed to have it, and they have plans to get rid of it already. So I don't think we've ever assessed a fine. I think when Denise was here, we might have sent one letter. I don't know if we've sent anything since Rebecca's been here, other than going out and having a conversation with the landowner. So it's not a huge issue. It's just one of those. It allows me, instead of going to Rebecca and her saying, yeah, why don't you go out and look into it before we do anything, to just go look at it.
Now, is there anything, I mean, does it really matter whether or not the cars are registered? It seems like an assumption that the cars are junk if they're not registered. So that's really my sticking point on this rule.
If you want to have 20 registered vehicles, we don't have a bylaw that prohibits it. It's really, it's having junk vehicles on the lot, and just having too many. And again, if you want to have more than one junk vehicle, if you put them inside, you can have them. It's only just vehicles that are outside and unregistered.
Why don't we just call them junk cars? I know it is, but I mean, if it's like I said, I could have a registered vehicle that's, a Bondo buggy or something, a piece of crap, and then, the next door neighbor's got an unregistered Ferrari that's like shiny. So to me, it's like, what difference does it make if it's registered? I don't want to impose that on somebody. They might be working on, they might be stripping a car frame off resto in their driveway because they have nowhere else to put it, and they don't have a super deluxe garage. And I don't want to tell a guy he can't work on his car in his driveway. It's America. The neighbors don't like it, well, then look the other way. Tell me what to do. There's always neighbors that always want to run the whole street. Every street I ever lived on, there's some neighbor that's a Karen, and they want to tell you how to live. So, I don't want to give them it's not that I don't want to give you the power. I don't want to give them the power.
Well, according to this article.
So it's existing bylaw.
I know.
It's really just transferring who enforces it. I had a guy in one of the other towns that I worked for. He had 50 unregistered cars. To spite the neighbor, he registered every single one of them.
This happened.
Cost him about $5,000.
Yeah, if you got the money. I don't know.
I think it's really more just about communicating with the neighbors that, hey, if you got junk on your lot and it's unsightly, maybe put it under cover. But I mean, that's what it usually results in. But again, it's existing bylaw. Doesn't really matter if you give it to me or not. Not giving it to me still leaves it in place as is. Having me enforce it just changes it from Rebecca doing the dirty work to me.
So currently it's at 2 cars.
No, it's at one car.
So we're going to expand
Yeah.
it so you can have 2 now.
See, it's America, damn it.
Can we make it 3? On a 66,
Make it
a
whatever you'd
67, and a 68.
Five's a safe bet for me.
So we're going from.
I'm all for fixing up
We're
cars.
going from 1 to 2.
And then you can still
I thought it
have
was
more-
reasonable. I mean,
You can still have more than that, you just have to have a
permit.
permit.
All right, okay. So there's always an out for the guy saying, come on, the neighbors are just unreasonable. I mean, my car that's unregistered is better than everyone else in the neighborhood. Right?
Which, if they.
Yeah, and that's it. I don't wanna make it-
Say,
yeah, if you have 3 beautiful Corvettes that are just unregistered because you're working on them, and they're your personal vehicles, have at it. You just need to get permission for it.
All right, that's all I want to know. Okay, thank you. We can move it, we ready?
Well, what
Sure.
about the enclosed building thing? Can it be just a structure?
I'd say a structure, an enclosed structure, and change it from building, so if it's, out of sight, out of mind, as long as it's not, I suppose then somebody will squawk, it's one of those, Greek blue color, and I like Greek blue, but, some people want green or brown or earth tones, So, you're always gonna get somebody saying, I don't like it.
So are we changing
Yeah,
that?
the language of building was
I'd like to
the
change it
original
to
language.
enclosed structure. Enclosed, enclosure.
Within an enclosure?
Could be
or
a circus tent. Enclosure, you okay with that, Ed?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Can't see it.
No, put a top over it. That's an enclosure.
There you go. Top and some bungee cords, now we're talking.
So we're changing the language to so where it says on any premise not within an enclosed building to on any premises not enclosed.
On any premise?
I would have you change it from building to structure, because we define structure in the building code, or in the zoning code as to that which is built or constructed, which covers pretty much everything.
Structure.
There you go, there's a compromise solution.
It's all good.
Move the question.
Recommend favorable action.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I guess I gotta go buy some taps.
There you go. All those in favor, I'll go along with it. There you go, it's unanimous. Good luck, Sam.
I also asked Sam to stay on for the next article, which is a zoning bylaw change that I know him and the town planner and the fire chief, as well as the general manager of the electric light department were working on in regards to the battery storage, article number,
Oh, I
well,
saw
now,
that.
article number 16.
Is it 17 or 16?
It was 17, but with the deletion, it'll be 16.
Oh, now it becomes 16, that's right. Okay, wait.
We deleted, so you move up.
I got you. So now this is Article
And that's
16.
the Article 16 is the definition, and Article 17 is the actual bylaw. So I don't know if you would invite the building commissioner to give a background on that so that you don't have to read through all of that. Might be helpful.
Did not understand portions of it, so it would be helpful to have him talk about it.
It was a steep learning curve, let me tell you. So the reason we did this is there's a Mass General law that allows utilities, so any of these battery systems that are hooked into a public utility, a protection under the Dover Amendment, which would allow them anywhere in town with minimal oversight, without us adopting anything. So with adopting this, and this bylaw is based on a mass model and other towns that have already adopted it. This takes into NFPA 855, which is the fire protection regulation of battery systems. Unfortunately, the state building code hasn't caught up yet, so we use that by itself, but the state building code, the 10th edition, is expected to mirror NFPA 855. This gives us the authority through site plan review to require not only what 855 requires, but what your fire protection engineers recommend. So not only are we doing what's required, we're also asking for training for our fire departments or landscaping issues to protect surrounding neighborhoods so that they don't have to look at them if they don't like how they look, for security reasons, for issues during an event where they have to potentially put it out and capture that runoff, so it's not just running into a wetland or down the street. So it gave us the opportunity to do a lot of protective measures on our end so that up front we get those requirements in place, and then also requirements for decommissioning and bonds to hold in place in case a company goes under and we're left with the task of decommissioning. So by adopting this, it gives us a lot of authority to oversee and regulate what comes into town, versus if we don't adopt anything, they would have an as-of right under 40A to bring them in if they hook into a public utility and then meet those minimum requirements of NFPA 855. So We did have through Kevin, a gentleman who was involved also with the installation of these systems. So it was a very comprehensive oversight of what could happen, how they operate, what happens at permitting during operation and then decommissioning. So this gives the town some good protection, so we make sure we don't have a valley screw type situation or are just left holding the bag with some defunct battery storage, and gives us some protections on top of that. So.
Can I ask a question? Like, what are these for? Are these for charging of car stations, or are these for providing energy? Are these a power production station or a charging station?
Sorry, I should have started at the beginning.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
the small battery storage like you have in your house, like the Tesla Powerwall, these aren't them. These are a large capacity that would support the town in the event of power loss. So essentially a town-wide generator is what these are. They're a battery to power the town in case of power loss. So these are massive batteries.
Like, how massive? Like, bigger than this room?
They come in, usually at this point, what they've done is they've designed them to come in your tractor trailer type containers or type containers with self-contained fire suppression. They're interconnected, so you'll end up with arrays that have just container after container lined up in an array connected, similar to a solar array, except they're metal containers that have the equipment, the batteries in them, pretty much self-contained. The reason they self-contain them is one of the big problems with lithium battery is thermal runaway, where if one overheats or malfunctions, it heats up the next one and the next one and the next one. Where these are self-contained containers, and we've written that into the bylaw that they have to be somewhat isolated. It gives us the opportunity to separate and segregate that individual container so that we can put fire suppression on that if the internal fire suppression isn't working until it douses itself or just runs its course. The problem with lithium batteries is they are self-contained fire triangles. They contain the heat source, the fuel source, and oxygen. They create their own. So if you go online, you can see like an example that's brought up all the time is a Tesla that's pushed down a boat ramp underwater and burns underwater for hours. These do not get put out by water. They need to run their course. And this will help us protect, if there is one of those events, keep that thermal runaway from happening so that we can contain it to one container, and then also have criteria if we need to put water or chemicals on it, containment criteria for those so they don't end up in our groundwater or sewer system.
So do you anticipate businesses wanting to do this, or residents in the town?
It would not be residences. These are multi-million-dollar types of, establishments or compounds. I know our power company is considering that as something that they might consider at some point. I don't know how far along they are. Typically, they're limited to areas that run along the main power lines because they require those main lines to feed back into. They can't just be run off of any power line. So it's a very limited scope of where they can be located. But again, this gives us the authority to look at those locations as they come in versus having just someone come in and currently with no regulations that can say, yep, we want to do it and we're allowed to do it, so we're going to do it and hit minimum criteria.
Okay, I agree. I would move favorable on this one.
I mean, we need a whole, semester course on this topic. I mean, it seems like, what is this? And who woke up one day and said, we need to deal with this problem? Because it seems like the boogeyman hasn't come to town yet.
He hasn't, but he is. The way the acts of 2020 are going and the requirements for electrification of everything, there is a heavy push from companies to get these in. I've had a couple interested in West Newbury. I've had at least one in Groveland approach, wondering what we have for bylaws. So the reason we wanted to jump on this is to be proactive and not be caught kind of, doing a Monday morning quarterback type thing, trying to fix this.
So
We'd rather have all the regulations in place.
So there's a way that Groveland locally can, we're like the David versus the Goliath, so the big corporations aren't gonna come in and impose this on us, and then you get all kinds of potential waste issues and fire suppression issues. So it's in our benefit to regulate the outsiders from coming in.
If we're ahead of it, we're in a much better position than if we sit and do nothing.
So this wouldn't affect local residents. No one in a single-family home's going to have this issue, right? This doesn't affect them?
I can't imagine anyone deciding they want to put in enough power to power, a portion or the whole of the town as a resident.
No, but this wouldn't affect somebody with, batteries in their house and solar panels, and, I got 20 car batteries in the garage, and I'm, lighting up my kitchen or something. Would it affect those people on a micro level?
No, we set the bar very high. I think it was 1 megawatt of power, which if you're using that much electricity at home, you're doing something illegal. That is a lot of power to be using for a single family residence. So yes, you can have your power walls and power your house, have extra. You're not gonna hit these thresholds as a single family residence. There's just no way.
So it's effectively some sort of a restriction or a ban on certain types of batteries.
These are massive systems that are, you're talking quarter of an acre or larger battery packs.
And right now, the building code or zoning couldn't prevent these corporations from coming in here and imposing this on us?
Similar to the cell tower going in at Cedardale, where there's a need and it's a public utility, it's just go ahead and put it in. So similar with this, if there is the power lines nearby that you can hook into and there's a need in town, which it's a pretty easy argument to say, yeah, we need battery backups or supplemental power and tie into the grid. We'd have little to no authority to stop it from coming in and even less to regulate it beyond what's written in the codes. This gives us a whole lot more authority to regulate and oversee and require conditions placed on these systems.
All right. Anyone else? I'll go along with it.
All set.
All right, move the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most likely it would be coming through the municipal electric, the need to have something like this, and I think we need to have a plan for it. Because if these things aren't put in the proper encasement and placed in a safe location and something goes wrong, I think it's later on the fire department would want additional training too, and how to approach something like this. It's not a nuclear plant, but it's certainly not just a house fire. So, yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
There you go. Move the question. All those in favor? There you go. Unanimous. What's up next?
I don't know. Community.
Article 17,
So now it's going to be Article 18.
sorry, yes, Article 18 under the community preservation. If the board wants to take the first article with the recommended spending amounts, the next few are the projects that the board has already voted to put forward on the warrant. I believe there's only 2 that the board had disagreed with in terms of whether or not they supported such, so we could take those as a lump sum and then remove those other 2 articles for the sake of time as well.
Okay.
Which were the 2 we rejected?
The 2 that you were, was a split vote, was the Perry Park as well as the Shanahan parking, but we're it received the votes necessary to be on the warrant, but in terms of a favorable recommendation, those were the two that I would say that the board wanted to discuss in more detail. The others were unanimous.
So can you clarify, it passed muster to
The board went and.
get on the warrant articles?
The board went, we had the chairman of the Community Preservation Committee present all of the articles to the Board of Selectmen at their last meeting. The board discussed each individual article in great detail. They voted unanimously on all of the articles except for those two articles, being the Perry Park design for $30,800 and the Shanahan parking for the $886,000.
But it was still favorable.
Those were rejected, so.
No.
They weren't rejected. They were voted to be put forward on the warrant. There was 3-2, but there was some back and forth. So whether or not the board wants to vote favorable or unfavorable, I think is up for discussion. But for the sake of time, if you just want to take those two and put favorable recommendations for the others, we can do that.
So could we do Article 18 first? Because that's just the money split that they have to do anyway. That's standard, right?
That's the allocation, right?
Yep.
Yes, correct.
Both the allocation.
So I'll move for favorable recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Favorable.
Mike, wake up.
So the ones we were disagreeing on, does anyone want to make a motion to move unfavorable or remove them altogether? What's the board's pleasure?
Well, you did vote to put them all on the warrant already.
We can take them off, though. We can flip-flop.
Flip-flop.
Yeah, indeed.
Elected officials.
That woke Mike up.
I'll speak for myself, though, you know.
So
How do we want to
is
proceed?
it Article 23 is the first one where we had a split vote of 3-2? Yes?
Well, you want to read it?
The Perry Park design phase, that was the $30,800 to do a design for the Perry Park. And I think that part of the reasoning behind it was they have that invasive, it looks like the tall straw stuff, right? That's the invasive species that's taking it over. And we've put some planters there, but we haven't done anything more to figure out what we're doing with that park. It used to be a park that kids played in. And now it's starting to be overgrown, so this would be to come up with a plan and a design, and it would go out to bid. I think there was a concern that $30,000 is a lot of money, and it is, you know, to just get a plan. I don't know, Mike, is there any feeling that it might come in under $30,000 by a lot of money? That might make everybody really happy if that happened.
So what was our vote on that? 3-2? I forget.
Yeah.
There's 3-2.
3-2 in favor of it?
Yes,
4-1.
or 4-1.
Who voted against it? Me?
I don't know.
No, I think I did.
I think it,
I think it was Selectman Watson.
Why didn't I vote against it? I don't like it.
You fell asleep.
I didn't. I didn't have enough
you
coffee.
liked Perry Park.
See, what's the difference between overgrown and wild? So, you know, you want to preserve the wilderness, you know, and we like, you know, pull weeds out of, you know, Johnson Pond and spend money on what I call muck raking and, you know, just like, it's just that the weeds grow back. It's like, you know, we want to spend 30 grand pulling dandelions, you know, and then you come back next week and there's more dandelions. So I don't want to throw good money after bad money, you know.
Voted for it.
You know, can you get rid of all the invasive species, you know? You know, we haven't been able to get rid of, you know, the Norway rat, you know? It's been here for centuries.
Ask Mike if we can get rid of it.
So, you know, some invasive species, you know what? They might as well be natives because you can't, like, you know, extirpate them, you know, and get them out of your neighborhood, you know? It's just impossible. So you might as well just, you know, accept the migrant species to your neighborhood.
Embrace them?
Yeah, and just embrace, you know, your Japanese, what do you call it?
I think we have two choices on this property. It was a park, it used to, the children used to use it for baseball, and then that, you know, with the growth in traffic, I think we decided that wasn't the best idea to have a baseball flying back. I mean, if you look back in the history of the town book, we had before the basketball court downtown, we evidently had what do we have, a skating park, right, or something? We had something before the basketball court. So, I mean, obviously, as the traffic has grown in town, we've had to close down some of these parks that are close to roads. That doesn't mean that we let them go into an abandoned status. It's still a historic park. It has the veteran monument, right, on the triangle? Yes. So there's that aspect of it that you want to maintain it to some reasonable degree. I think the question is 30,000 a lot? Yes. Do we have to spend all 30,000 to get a plan? Well, maybe not. Maybe it'll come in less. I don't know. Everything seems to cost a lot right now.
Jason?
I remember the big thing that we talked about is the fact that it was an underutilized property. And this is one way to make sure it gets utilized effectively and benefit to the community. And it has a lot of potential. And the Japanese knotweed that's taken over the area is a type of bamboo. And it grows all the way out to the street. The highway department has to come out and cut it down just to make the signs visible. And this would give us a comprehensive plan to exterminate the Japanese knotweed, reclaim the park, and make it a usable, functional piece of property for the community to enjoy. In terms of $30,000, it's expensive, but yes, I think it's going to cost every bit of that to get that accomplished, just from dealing with landscape architects myself and what they charge.
I just think we have enough recreation opportunity in town, and everything's underutilized except maybe Washington Park and Shanahan Field and the Pines. So, you know, we don't need another park, you know. It's just extra. So, I'm opposed to it, Ed.
Look, from Perry Park is, that was used years ago when there was a ball field there. That was before the Pines was put in. Now you're tops, 2/10 of a mile down the road. If the people can't walk down to the Pines, to utilize that, there's a problem. And I haven't seen anybody use that park for quite a few years. And right now, it's, I know the Congregational Church has used it for overflow parking and different events. The Boy Scouts have used it maybe once or twice a year for their recycling efforts. But other than that, I don't see any of the children in the neighborhood utilizing that at all. And they can walk down to the Pines 2/10 of a mile, and where they have a great facility, which it wasn't there when the Perry Park was actually used. So $30,000, a lot of money, and I don't think they need it.
And the parking there is like, you're backing out onto the busy street when it's probably safer to go down the Pines and parking, you know.
Well, I don't know, you ever see the way some of the people come into the Pines?
You know, I don't know, it's at an intersection there too, you know, so. All right, I'm gonna move it.
No. Oh, I got some more to say.
Huh?
Can I say another thing?
We're gonna be here till midnight. It's
Why not?
tax season, I gotta go.
It's
I
okay.
gotta
You
work
could
this-
stay up till 2 a.m. That's fine. So my concern is that it is a designated park. It does have a veteran memorial associated with it, and that if we do nothing, it will fall into disarray. It's highly visible. I don't anticipate that we're going to try and replicate any of the activities that are already covered at the Pines Recreation. I would anticipate that it will become more of a passive recreation area, that once you can get control of that species that's overgrowing it, that we can come up with a low-cost maintenance so the highway department doesn't have to keep cutting all that back, and maybe provide some shading and some picnic tables, and families that just want a quiet place to go have lunch outside in that area can go there. I mean, everybody doesn't have to go to the Pines Recreation Area if they're not going to use the recreation down there. But the other side to it is, okay, fine, you do nothing, we'll understand the consequences of doing nothing. It's just going to turn into an eyesore.
It already is.
It is now, yeah, it's getting there, and it'll just get worse. So if that's the intention, to let fall apart and become an eyesore, then that's what will happen when you do nothing.
There you go.
There you
Let's
go.
move. Let's move it. I think it was 4-1 last time. I'm gonna pick up one, Ed, right? So, you wanna make a motion?
Flip-flop. I move favorable recommendation.
I'll second that.
You second that. Further discussion? Yeah, I flipped on that after being enlightened, you know? We don't need it. We don't need any more parks, you know? You don't need 5 bicycles. You don't need
If
5
you-
of everything, you
Someone
know?
wants to speak, do you want to let her speak or not?
Would you like to speak?
If you're willing to allow me, it's your call.
Of course I would. Why wouldn't I?
My name's Melissa Baker. I live at 5 Sunset Circle. I'm just speaking as a resident of the town, having researched Japanese knotweed extensively. It is not an invasive species that you want to lie dormant and let it overgrow. It will continue to grow. Grows on volcanoes, and it will penetrate your sewer lines. It will penetrate your foundations. It will penetrate asphalt. It is something that you would like to work on to mitigate before it does completely take over the park.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
You know, I happen to like weeping willows. I planted a bunch of them at my house, and yeah, they crack sidewalks and foundations, and they like grow for miles, and I love them. So, you know what? And they get big too, like monstrous. I think they're beautiful. Nothing else like them. So I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder on the, what is art? So, and they'll keep growing back, I guarantee it. Anyways, we're gonna move it.
Yes.
I think you got the votes anyways, Kathy. Did you have a motion?
Yes, I did, already
And-
favorable.
And Jason seconded it?
Mark.
Mark did,
Mark did.
yeah.
All right. Those in favorable of the Perry Park funds? Unfavorable?
Opposed?
Opposed? 3-2. What's up next?
Article,
The other one, what was the other?
The other one was Shanahan
How did that
parking.
work out?
That was Article
2-2.
25.
25.
That was what?
25 now. It was 26, now it's Article 25.
That was like 800 grand, wasn't it?
$886,000.
That's all. What was the vote on that last time?
That one was
2-2.
That was, yes, 2-3,
That was 2-3?
or
That-
3-2.
That failed.
It's 2-2.
That was 2-2, so it failed.
It was 3-2, and it didn't fail, it was put forward.
Oh, I
So
will-
you and
Oh, that was
Selectman
the finance
Watson
one. I'm looking at the wrong-
were disagreed, and Selectman Parento, Naves, and Castronellis were in favor.
There you go. So, I mean, we're just being redundant here. Does somebody
Yes, we
want to
are.
move this and, you know, it'll be 3-2 again?
Well, we don't need to vote again, we already voted it. It's
Okay,
done.
so what are we doing?
All right, so is that another favorable recommendation?
Yep, done.
We voted to put it on the warrant, they didn't. vote.
Okay, you want to move the favorable recommendation, Kathy?
Move the favorable recommendation.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Dan. I still oppose it. Excessive cost, $886,000. Last year, this came in, started out at $500,000, and then it cut out the lights, and it come in, I think around 450, but I'm not exactly sure. So now, come up over $400,000 in 1 year for, put lights and redo the parking lot. I think it's an excessive cost. I think it's a waste of money, and I think it ought to be defeated. If it's not defeated here, it ought to be defeated at the town meeting. Just because they have the money in the CPA doesn't mean that we should have to pass this article. $886,000, people, town's money. Part of it comes out of our taxes. It's a lot of money. It's way too much money. Let them come back with something that's a lot less expensive.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Kathy.
so, I mean, If I thought we could come back with something less expensive, I would agree, but I know that we're in an inflationary environment right now with the cost of materials. It's not going to get cheaper, it's going to get more expensive. So I trust that within our town administrator, she will look for ways to bring this in under that price tag, if at all possible, but we keep pushing this off. We've heard from the two leagues that use the field, they want the parking, they want the people that are coming to these fields to be able to park off of the road and get their children out of their cars without having to go into Main Street. I would assume the neighborhood there would be very happy not to have cars parked all along their front lawn, and I just don't see how this can ever be solved unless we take the first step on it. I don't see how we can solve it.
I think we don't need to hot top it, that's how we could save money, you know, just put down some gravel or some hard pack or something like that, you know, and then when it rains, you don't have runoff issues and erosion, and maybe water can actually permeate the surface of the earth instead of, you know, rolling off into someone's, you know, driveway or down the street. So I think it's ill-conceived. I don't think we need to blacktop everything. I think it's environmental destruction in many ways, and we could save a boatload of money by scrapping the hot top idea and just get the configuration right so you can park a certain number of vehicles off the street safely. But it is a waste of money. It's over the top. You know, everything seems to be burning a hole in our pocket. We got to spend it all. So I agree with Mr. Watson. Michael?
Yes. So, I don't believe it's a waste of money. I think we have a problem there, whether we want to recognize it or not. Last year, you know, it was a lot less money, but certain people were still against it. That's why it didn't get done last year. Unfortunately, now we're looking at more money. Potentially, maybe with the design, maybe they would eliminate the asphalt part of it. So part of the project is going to be more design than was built into last year's project. So it's possible that, you know, maybe they come up with a less expensive plan to do that. Just wanted to mention that we are pursuing matching grants on this one. I just submitted a grant request last week for $50,000 matching funds for the project from a special hometown grant offered by T-Mobile. So we can always pursue matching grants. Great opportunity, cuts down what we have to pay. So I would ask you to, you know, consider supporting this, because I think, again, we're not wasting money. We are using CPA funds to improve the town, to take care of problems that are out there that aren't getting any better, that it will not ever be done by any other funds or any other town money. They'll just sit there like Shanahan Field has sat there for the last 25 years, looking ugly.
Thank you, Michael. All right, can we move it? Quick,
Quick.
please.
I think it addresses a huge safety concern that a lot of residents have. That's one of the reasons why I'm for it. The other, in terms of the pavement, that triggers the storm water management system, which is geared towards keeping the pollutants that leak out of cars contained and not in our environment, which I think is one of the biggest reasons why it should be paved. I think it would be much more environmentally responsible.
Okay. Probably gonna be the same votes as last time, we'll see. Was there a motion and a second?
Yeah,
There was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move it.
Okay.
Those in favor of favorable action? Those opposed? Same as last time.
Same as last time.
Sorry for the redundancy, folks. But they have more information.
So is
What-
it fair to say that the board, just for the record, is moving on favorable action for the community garden, the Washington Hall on, getting the Washington Hall on National Registry, the shade and seating at the Pines, the town clerk historic scan of documents, and the Pines parking enhancement?
Yes, I think
Thank
we
you.
could move those or have a motion to move
Wait.
those as a block unless you want to bifurcate something.
Right,
Yeah.
oh, okay, but I mean, we have favorable action on all of these articles.
You voted to put them on the warrant. You didn't do the
Oh,
favorable
okay, so
action.
now, can we just make one motion for those?
Yeah, we'll just double it up on what we did last time.
I
It's like-
move favorable on all of that.
It's like deja vu unless somebody wants to, exhume the horse, as I called it, and we'll
Yeah, we're not doing that.
beat it some more.
He
Want to
seconded
exhume the
it.
horse?
No,
No.
not that, not that.
All right.
No.
Go ahead, Mark.
So that will take us into the appropriations, Article
Oh,
number
we gotta
26.
vote.
Oh,
Make a motion to vote on
did.
them as a block.
Yes, I did.
She did.
Did, and I
He
second.
seconded.
There you go. Any further discussion?
We're good.
No.
Nope,
All those favorable on the block?
the block.
5-0. Next
All right.
up.
Good.
Number what?
so
Number
then,
27.
I'll read it.
so that one is in regards to the revolving account limits.
Oh, wait, 26, sorry, the revolving accounts. We can approve them as a block.
Article 27, to see if the
No,
town...
26. Well, it's now 26.
26 was parking Shanahan Field, so we're going to renumber Article 27 to 26 because we voted to remove
Correct.
Article,
Yes,
what was it, 15?
somewhere around there. Somewhere back there. We
And there is an error. It should be 8.
Where's 8?
There are 8
Eight
revolving
accounts.
accounts.
Oh,
Is it
Oh, it's-
procedurally defective if we renumber?
No.
Then
It's
we'll-
your warrant. You haven't posted it yet.
All right, so we'll just,
8.
I make a motion that you can put these in the order without any skips.
Gotcha.
Everybody agree to that, that she can
Yes.
number these at her?
Yes. And we agreed to the edit of 8 revolving accounts. Can I make a motion that we're going to recommend favorable?
Yes, please.
Okay, motion that we recommend favorable action on 8 revolving accounts.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor are unanimous. Number 28, oh, we did that.
No, 28 is now 27.
And that's the article to accept the transfers of the Groveland Municipal Light and the $85,000 from the free cash to offset to reduce the fiscal year 2025 tax rate.
And this is all just accounting geography,
Yes,
and you recommend this as our town administrator?
Yes.
You need to move the money where it needs to go.
yes.
All right, is there a motion, Kathy?
I move we recommend favorable action.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Favorable action, unanimous.
Article number 29, which is now 28, is to allocate monies from free cash to the following accounts: the $50,000 to the stabilization account, $50,000 to the capital stabilization account, $50,000 to the municipal building improvement account, $5,000 to the MS4 stormwater permit account, $5,000 to the personnel buyback account, $4,844 to the opioid settlement account, and then per our capital plan, $64,967 for the purchase of the police department cruiser, $25,000 to fund the electrical study for the town hall complex, $68,462 to purchase a generator for the town hall complex, and the $20,000 to match a FEMA FY 2025 assistance to firefighters grant. So the total allocation from free cash would be $343,273.
Is there a motion?
I move that we recommend favorable action.
Second.
Second goes to Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor of favorable action? 5-0. What's next?
Article number 30, which is now 29, and that's to see if the town will transfer from the PEG Access Cable Fund the sum of $150,000 to be expended under the direction of the town administrator to fund cable access services for fiscal year 2025. It was last year $250,000. We have reduced that since this year we had focused solely on the removal of this equipment into the closet in the hallway. So we will not be needing to set that limit as high for fiscal year '25.
I recommend we move favorable action.
Second.
Yeah, my suggestion was, I mean, all of the transfers, I mean, they're just necessary, so, I mean, can we just vote on the transfer articles as a block?
The 29, 30,
As one.
Unless somebody wants to put in a stop on any of them, but
31.
it seems to me it's just necessary accounting, geography,
to,
reclassifications.
yeah, all the way to 32. So I'll recommend we move favorable action on 29, 30, that's conservation. 31 is the bond premium, bond premium sale thing. 32 is receipts for sale of town buildings stuff, and then stop there.
All right, so that's your motion? Is
Yes,
there a
please.
second on the block of the transfers, and we can discuss if there's any objections to any of them? If Beth had something, we'll bring Beth in.
Second that.
Second that, so open for discussion. Beth, Coniff,
Have it on the, this fixing of the salaries.
would you like to come up?
That's not in the block yet, yeah.
We're
not
just
yet.
doing transfers. I wanted to streamline this.
Yep,
That's why I sat back down, because it's not included.
All right, we'll get this off the docket. All those in favor of the transfers discussed? 5-0. All
okay.
right, the next issue. Want to read it?
Yes, Article number 32, which is now 33, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of certain elected officers in the town or take other actions relative thereto.
Is there a motion on that? I'll make the motion on that. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, now the discussion's open. Is this restrictive or unrestrictive? What are you thinking?
This is, my question is, in the past, the question has been to fix the salary and compensation of all elected
Yeah.
officials and appointed. And now you have changed the language on it, and it only says some elected. So I'm curious as to why the language was changed and it no longer includes appointed.
Where does it say some?
It says certain
Certain.
elected, that is a word
Certain.
change.
So that
Well,
was,
we need to delineate that, or it's ambiguous. So who are the certain?
Exactly. And why aren't the appointed included in this as they have
That's
been
a
in the past?
valid question, so who's
so
got the answer?
at the set of the fiscal year, when we had the conversation about moving monies from line items from the elected salaries into an appointed salary.
Yeah.
It was brought up with the council and the state that we had voted per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, for the fixed compensation of elected officers of the town, which is set per that general law. So the certain elected offices are all elected officers, meaning all the stipends. So that means and we can list those out underneath because we had voted them. So you can put the town clerk, you can put the cemetery commissioners, you can put the Board of Selectmen, you can put the Board of Health, you can put any elected official that receives a stipend or wage would be included. And I had a chart, but the town.
Any
council-
compensation.
Exactly. So the town council said, I don't need my chart, so I took the chart out. But I can put the chart back in, which lists every single one of those elected officials and what their stipends and/or salary would be. And in regards to separating it out, you'll see in the article number 34, it does state that they would set the salaries of the appointing authorities underneath, that to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer for available funds or otherwise provided to meet the salaries and wages of the town officers, employees, expenses, et cetera. So their appointed officials would be allocated through the omnibus, and the elected official would be set per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108. We can combine both of them into one article. So Article 33 could become well, Article 34 could become Article 33 together, and we could include it all if you wanted to. But I had the chart, so I kept them separate. So it wasn't to differentiate between anybody in a negative light. It was just to call out elected officials and their elected stipends, which we reduced many to 0. So the only one that would be listed would be the town clerk and the water and sewer commissioners. No other salaries had been set because we reduced all of the stipends. So that's why we had the chart and removed the chart. But then the other ones would be the Article 34 with the appropriations per the omnibus as general government, public safety, et cetera.
So we had a lengthy discussion on this topic, and it was voted for and then reversed, and I was uncertain as to the legality of what we were doing. But would it be possible to modify this to say the salary shall be fixed unless the officer agrees to accept less, which is what I think you wanted to do, Beth, to facilitate the needs of your department. And I thought it was something that should be your prerogative. If you don't want to take taxpayer money and you want some help on it and you want to somehow facilitate getting the job done and delivering services, then I don't have a problem with the flexibility of what you proposed. So could this be modified, the language, to satisfy you?
My curiosity is still the appointed section of that, so if you could tell me where it states that the appointed salaries will be fixed. I don't see that.
So,
Yeah, could we combine them? Because it does say.
It used to
can
be
combine
combined.
them.
It
That's
used to be
fine.
one
Let's
question
combine
that
them.
combined it, and
I have
it
no problem.
fixed both.
I will combine them. I don't care. Let's just combine them and make this a non-issue, because it's not an issue. I'll combine them.
Yeah, and then just say all elected officials and then the other appointed. That's fine.
All
That's easy.
elected and appointed.
And appointed, yeah. Can that be?
I will fix it and put the language from last year right into Article number 34 with the omnibus.
33,
Yes.
yes, good. And then we won't need 34, right?
Well, we'll need 34 because that's the omnibus.
But it becomes 33.
Yes,
Okay.
the numbers.
Rebecca, have we perturbed you this evening?
No, it's just a
not
non-issue. It
I
really
have
is.
not seen you
There's
get
no,
upset.
there's no ill intent there whatsoever.
know there's not.
So
It's fine.
I consider it fixed.
I'm not reading any ill intent, I'm just, nitpicking,
It
So
could have
I
been an
move-
email.
It was
so-
a
I move
curiosity.
favorable on the combined article as explained by
curiosity.
the town administrator. Favorable recommendation.
All right, well, I'm discussing more.
You're not going
Can
to
I-
second my favorable?
Second.
Thank
We
you.
already had a second.
Nah.
I don't like the word fix. All right, I'm hung up on fix.
How about unfixed?
It's like set in stone, there's no flexibility to it. So, I mean, do we want to fix it? I mean, you get elected, and it's like, oh, you don't like the guy, so you're like, you know what, we're cutting your pay to
Just
zero.
use the word set then, set.
I think the statute says you can't do that, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. We know what you're
That's
saying.
what the statute said, and it's very confusing for some of the appointed individuals because they're not salary. So if you see a salary, you assume that you're going to be getting an hourly rate of that nature when your set fixed hourly rate was set per your position and per what was agreed upon your hiring and/or grade step, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's some confusion there, but we can set it because it's been set. I think we can use the same exact language.
I think elected officials, they run for office and that should be disclosed what you're getting paid. But appointed people, I mean, if you have a budgetary problem, I mean, you have the power to appoint, you have the power to take away their appointment, okay? We have that authority, and if we run into money problems, then it's like, you know what, sorry, but we gotta cut your pay. Gotta cut your hours. So I don't know that we want to fix appointed personnel. I think they're different than elected people, and that's not me being big-headed, It's just,
But Dan, that's what.
it's basically giving them a quasi-contract for a term without it in writing.
All right, if I may speak again. Last year, that was exactly what you tried to do. You hired an individual, you swapped jobs with the two individuals, and then you tried to increase the salary once it had already been set, after we had the discussion that you wouldn't discuss my transfer of money. So you hired a person based on information, and then you tried to increase that salary without any vote or any change after supposedly that salary had been set. Now, you had to come back and meet after the fact, and you had to change that salary, and you had to knock it back down because it had been set.
Who did? I
So
did that.
you
We did that.
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen needed to.
We did, we fixed it.
Which one was that?
That was when we were having the transfer between the electric,
treasurer
I mean,
and
the
the
water and
water
sewer and
department.
the treasurer department. Yep,
They swapped jobs.
right.
The job that the original water department
Yes.
person was hired for was more money, so when she swapped over to the treasurer's office, you offered to give her that same, or you agreed to give her that same money at a meeting when you appointed her, and that was not, it should not have been allowable, because that's not what was voted at town
It
meeting.
wasn't appropriated by the voters at
Right.
And it was not in the budget.
Right, so we're
So
going to
now,
say,
if you're not setting the salaries for both, it's still not in the budget, so I just don't see how you're going around it.
Why can't you have some flexibility in the line item, like clerk's office, X? And then you could hire 14 people or one. I like flexibility. Sometimes you need two people to do one job, and maybe that's all we can get, or maybe that makes sense.
I agreed with that flexibility
I like
last year, but
flexibility.
the total salary was set, and I was just trying to flex within the total salary, and that was not accepted.
I agreed with you, and that's why I don't like
Agreed.
fix the
Mr.
salaries,
Chairman.
because it's rigid.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
Rigid cracks.
but wait, there's a difference between the appointed salary and the elected, and I kind of,
Yes.
can I finish?
Yeah.
I thought about it, I thought, well, so I'm an elected official, maybe let's say I don't need a lot of money, which I'm not, but if I were, and I decide it's my reelection year, I'm going to cut my salary down and give it to my underlings, and I'm running, and I'm going to tell the people that vote for me, if I get elected, I'm only going to take 60,000 of the 80,000. So vote for me.
Good.
I think that's why, I believe we went into the laws on this. I thought the law said that we
Goes to free
needed to
cash.
set the salary on the elected officials. Am I wrong on this? Do I got it wrong?
So there is Massachusetts general law that says that you have to set the salary for elected officials
Yeah, you
for
do.
any type of ethical violation, which what
Right.
we talked about with the other article. If it was a different salary line item, then yes, they said that the ruling that we got is that you could move between the lines if that's how you voted it, because the clerk was 100% correct. But because she was an elected official, they said that that was not allowed under Massachusetts general law. So we can go back to the article at hand and fix the salaries per Article 34, 38, 39, as we've done historically, fixing all the salaries per the omnibus and those entered for the enterprise fund, which would be water and sewer.
That's fine. I think, do what she says.
Yeah?
Yeah,
It does
Then it's all
accomplish it,
done.
yes.
That accomplishes? All right, done. Move the question, fine.
I
So
would-
that's exactly what it will say. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all elected and appointed officers of the town for the 12 months ending June 30th, 2025, or take any other action relative thereto, fixing of salaries according to Article 34, 38, and 39 below.
okay. Are we
Thank you
gonna
for your
vote?
time.
Wonderful. All those in favor? 5-all.
Barely raise his hand. Okay,
Article number 34 is the omnibus.
yep.
The entire omnibus is in Appendix B.
And we already voted that.
Yes.
Okay.
So rubber stamping what we did at the last meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the omnibus.
Favorable.
As we did the last meeting. Move favorable action on it,
There
sorry.
you go. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor? It's going to get posted. Let the people vote.
Okay.
What's next?
The citizen's petition will be Article number 35. A citizen's petition was put forward to change the name Board of Selectmen to Select Board. Please note that there was one error when submitting a zoning bylaw change. It needs to go through the planning board and it needs to go through a public hearing process. So just be mindful that whatever town meeting votes will only impact the general bylaw, and it will need to go before town meeting again and through the proper channels with the planning board for approval for a zoning board change, a zoning bylaw change.
Why is that a zoning bylaw?
Because if you look at
References
the
to
language, it asks that any place where we say Board of Selectmen gets changed to Select
I
Board.
got it.
So we voting on the citizens petition?
You don't, I mean, you can vote favorable or unfavorable, but it's automatically on the warrant no matter what.
I'd like to move it. I make a motion that we vote unfavorable on the select board.
You knew he was going to do
Just
that.
to, rub Kathy, I owe her a few,
You just had to.
Is there a second? I get anybody to follow me on that? Not even you, Ed? Oh, jeez. Dies on the vine, Japanese vine.
I'm in favorable recommendation from the Board of Selectmen on Article 35.
Second.
And let's call the vote, please.
Do I have to? I thought I was the
You
chairman.
do, you're the chairman.
You know, can't I where's the Billy Bulger when you need him? Put it on the bottom of the pile, right there. You know.
It's going to make us
That
wait.
discussion, what about that speech on, Webster's Dictionary?
I gave it.
You gave it, all right. And I gave my speech on one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, but we're gonna change that to, old people on the moon. I think Neil,
Just going to get us.
is sexist, he didn't know it. Anyways, all right, all those in favor of the citizens petition? Opposed? Not a Walker, if
Okay.
anyone just realized it. All right.
The next articles are the enterprise fund for the water and sewer. Article number 36 will be for $70,000 for the sewer enterprise department retained earnings to refund the replacement of the roof on the Main Street sewer pump station.
Can we move these as a block? Is that all right to do? So it's 36, 37, 38, and 39 are all,
Correct. Two are to do capital projects, and the other two are the actual budgets, which you'll find in Appendix C in their full form.
okay. And how come there's not a water and sewer commissioner recommendation?
They put forward the budget, so I would imagine.
I'll move favorable action on Articles 36, 37, 38, and 39.
Second.
Any discussion? You know, I don't know much about any of this, but hope they spend the money wisely. It's a lot of money. All those in favor? 5-0. What's next? Do we vote on the appendix?
Do we have to vote to post the warrant?
Yes, you should vote to post the warrant.
I'll make a motion that we vote to post the warrant.
Second.
Discussion. What if we don't? Doesn't anyone think like me? Nobody questions anything anymore. I mean, what if we don't? You know, we'll be a rebel state and we'll secede from the Union, like Mike said, I think. The Commonwealth. We'd get in trouble, wouldn't we? We'd have to go to the principal's office, like, we'll speak to the governor.
State might take over the town. If you don't fund the budget of the town, that's not fulfilling your responsibility.
Well, I have reserved the right to be irresponsible. I'm an American. We'd have no budget, right? We would effectively, like Congress, would have a government shutdown.
Actually.
That'd be kind of cool.
I think we go to 112th.
All right, I'm ragbagging now. I'm getting tired.
Yep.
Anyone else? All those in favor, we're going to post.
So please don't leave before signing this page this evening.
I have to sign this?
All of you.
Pass the page over.
I have to print it.
Okay.
I refuse.
You will sign.
What's next?
Appointments of the board, none.
Appointments of the board, none. Approval of the minutes, Board of Selectmen Executive Session Meeting Minutes, February 26, 2024. Guys want to release those?
Yes, I'll make a
I
motion to
move for
approve.
passage.
Say again?
Second.
He moved for passage.
Okay.
Kathy seconded.
Any
Second.
discussion? All those in favor?
You weren't here on the 26th.
Oh, that was the day I missed? I missed the executive session?
No, he was here for that.
No, but on the 26th he wasn't.
2060 was.
Was that a wrong date? I thought I was at the executive session.
You were.
You are.
You said I weren't here.
No, we did the executive session first.
February 26th, and we vote, is that the right date?
I just provided the minutes that were submitted to me, so if there's an error on the top, we can vote to amend the date.
Mark, you said I weren't there?
That's what it says on this, right? February 26th?
Those are the regular meeting minutes. That should be.
Yeah, it was just a mistake in the agenda at, that was the Monday, the 25th executive session,
Yeah, it's March 25th.
and that,
I was there.
you were there.
It
And then
was
the
the-
other one is February 26th, or,
So the mistake is, it wasn't an
no, there's
executive
a
session.
mistake in the date.
Okay, so can we clarify that? We're going to, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes of February 26th? That's the one I missed.
So
Move
it's
for
not.
passage.
Right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? I abstain.
What happened to one?
Okay.
Approval of the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes, January 29th, 2024.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'll abstain, I don't have those to read over. I don't have those,
You don't have it?
no.
You don't have it?
No, I don't have that one,
You
no.
need a copy of it?
Hmm?
You need a copy?
No, I'll just abstain.
All those in favor?
Abstain.
4 and 1 abstention. Moving right along, older unfinished business, 2024 election candidates night. Selectman MacDonald just, didn't put the date on here, Rob, but I guess Joe Demore is going to be the moderator, and we have a number of candidates, and what is the date?
We have a change, Mr. Chairman. I think
change?
the
The
town
date?
clerk has information for you.
Joe Demore reached out to a woman from the League of Women Voters in Winchester, and she offered to moderate the event, and Joe has now stepped down from the event completely. So the Lynn Brodsky will be the moderator for the candidate night.
Individually, or is she representing the League of Women Voters?
She is not representing the league. She is a qualified league-trained moderator.
Gotcha.
But since we are holding the candidate night in what we call a meeting, town meeting style
Yeah.
event, then she technically, it's not under the League of Women Voters because they have a very specific way that they run the meetings.
Gotcha.
So because it's run as a town meeting, she will moderate, but it is not under their certification.
So she's just kind of freelancing and going to use her best judgment and do a good job.
Right, as a trained moderator, yes.
All right. That's it. So it's going to be on April the 24th,
Correct, at 6 o'clock?
right here.
Yes.
Fill the room, wall-to-wall people, and what it's going to be like a, I guess, town meeting style where you just, people get up and ask the candidates questions? Is that what it's going
No,
to
it will
be?
be similar to what we've done in the past. So each candidate will have the option to present their issues and themselves and something
Yeah.
about themselves. There'll be questions from the audience, and then each candidate will have the option to, the opportunity, I should say, to either rebut or close their argument at the end.
In a timed manner.
Correct.
All right, beautiful.
And the ballot questions are also included, as long as we have pros and cons on that as well.
And will that be on the cable live?
Yes.
You'll be here. Very good. Okay, so there you have it. It's, come down here.
Be a good informative night for the residents.
And we could get, how many, do you have numbers for us? Can you disclose how many nomination papers you received?
I can give you yes. So there are 6 members who took out papers for the 2 seats for the Board of Selectmen,
Beautiful.
and the other races are not contested. So we did not get a candidate for the cemetery, for the school committee. We only got 2 candidates for the library. There's 3 seats currently open. We did get a person for the planning board, the light commission, the water and sewer. I'm trying to think if I'm missing one.
The moderator?
The moderator is also open. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
We usually write them in.
Right. There's no person running for the moderator spot. Thank you.
So that'll be appointed? Board of Selectmen will fill it?
Unless any position, you can have a write-in race. So if any candidate receives more votes than another, they're technically the winner of that race. So I would call them, and if they decline, then it would go to the Board of Selectmen to appoint.
Yeah.
But you can receive just one vote and win the seat.
You can be the chairman of the Board of Selectmen on a write-in.
Yes, you can.
You too can sit here with 109 votes, including your own.
You voted for yourself?
I voted for myself. And my wife voted for me just to get me out of the house, not because she supported me, but just to get me out of the house.
Okay.
So, it doesn't matter why you vote, just vote.
So hopefully we'll hear back from all the candidates, especially in the contested races, and it'll be a good informational night for the residents.
And participate in the democratic process,
Correct.
It's important.
It's very important.
And debate's important, whether you like listening to yourself or others, it's still, I think, healthy, as long as we keep it civil. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting. Do you have anything, Mark?
Nope.
Ed?
Nothing.
Jason?
No.
Kathy?
Nope.
Town administrator's time. Did we cover all the bases this evening?
I just have a few small updates. One, to let the board know that I submitted an application to the Dams and Seawall Program for the permitting and design for the Salem Street Dam/culvert/dam/culvert. So that is in the works.
You did not just say that.
What did you?
That's the first time you've cracked a joke. She made a joke.
Also, to let you know that
I think she was perturbed at me tonight for
No,
some
I
reason.
think she made a joke.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
The
also,
culvert versus dam. Yes, thank you.
/culvert/dam.
Thank you.
Also to let the board know that in working with the Groveland Economic Development Committee, we will be holding a seminar with the Small Business Administration over at Chesterton to provide additional resources and support for businesses who are interested in receiving such support. That will be on Wednesday, March 15th at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Chesterton. The flyer is being finalized. Once it's finalized, I'll be able to share it with the board. But we're really excited that the SBA will be in our neck of the woods and will be able to provide those additional resources to Groveland businesses and businesses within the Merrimack Valley and beyond. And then also to let the board know that the American the ARPA monies, the American Rescue, the ARPA monies, the reporting is due this month, so I will be submitting the report. That means that we have until December of 2025 to, 2024 to allocate funding officially. We have already done so through our capital plan, so we should be in good shape. But I just wanted to let the board know that the last round of reporting would be due this month, and then we will wrap up that project funding. And then lastly, I just wanted to make sure, I know many of you have seen in the news the development with the Whittier School Building Project. They are now going to be working and having conversations with the Northern Essex Community College. The Lieutenant Governor and the Governor had reached out to the surrounding municipalities and the member communities to discuss the potential for partnership there to open up lines of revenue and resources to fund a school project for both the community college and Whittier, which would alleviate some of the concerns with funding for the project. Obviously, there's a lot of different details that need to be ironed out. There's no final word as to how and what that project will look like moving forward. But again, I wanted to make sure that I brought it up at a meeting to inform you all that that is a direction that is currently being pursued. It is just a preliminary conversation. I'm scheduled to have more conversations with the member communities as well as the administration to figure out exactly what details are being finalized. And as soon as I have that meeting, I will make it a routine item within my time under the agenda to make sure that I'm keeping you updated on all of that as it moves forward. But those are my only updates, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Now for selectmen time. All right. Oh, you got something?
I apologize. If I can bring back up the election. You'll also note on the ballot that there are seats without nomination papers received for both the assessors for a 3-year term and the 2-year term. That is also a ballot question. Last year at town meeting, we voted to move it from an elected position to an appointed position, so nobody took out papers this year, and there is a question on the ballot to finish that process to move the assessor seats from elected to appointed. So the voters will see that on the ballot. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. So, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Selectman time. I'm a selectman. Time to be used to make statements, propose future agenda items, or congratulate residents, teams on accomplishments. This time should not be used to initiate a discussion. So I want to thank Rebecca for doing a great job on the budget. It's certainly a lot of accounting work. I can appreciate that as a kind of a bean counter, a financial guy in some respects. And it's a lot of work, and it's a thankless job in many ways, so appreciate everything you did. And I think we got a decent result out of the school committee. And the school district, thank you, gave us a sigh of relief. We need a break from the tax escalations, and there's always benefits and burdens, but we just can't keep raising taxes in town and passing that on to people that might be less fortunate or just don't have the wherewithal to keep up with the pace of life in Massachusetts, which is hectic, and it's expensive, and it accelerates all the time, and it's tough to get off the merry-go-round for some people. So the budget came out, I don't know, we can live with it. Appreciate everything you do, Rebecca, and I don't usually compliment too many people, but you did a great job. Thank you. Next up, Kathy.
Me first again.
Select woman, select board member.
Just stop.
So, can I call you?
Don't start.
Can I call you a select boarder?
Just stop.
Just
Okay.
play it.
Yeah, I think I echo your compliments. I think the town administrator did a great job pulling this budget together. I remember the evening before we had a town administrator standing in my driveway waiting for the warrant to come to me. I don't even know what we were thinking of back then. It was craziness. So this is just so much more organized, and even our debates are more organized. We know what we can agree on, and we identify what we don't agree on, and I like that a lot. So I'm actually really looking forward to this year's town meeting, because I think we're going to have a very good discussion on a lot of really important aspects of our town and things like that. I'm also really excited to announce that my husband retired from American Airlines after a flying career of over 40 years. It's pretty cool. He started as a young boy at Lawrence Airport, learning to fly, pumped some gas, worked his way through, and it was kind of neat. They allowed the family to be down there at the gate, welcome him back, and it was small but very meaningful moment for our family. I enjoyed that a lot more than I realized I would. It was really neat. So I guess as we roll into town meeting and we roll into the spring, maybe take time, enjoy things with your family, and don't forget that that's the big stuff, really. The other stuff is just the money that we move around. That's the big stuff.
Thank you, Kathy. Jason?
Yeah, I really want to thank the water department, the fire department, the police department, the electric department, and including our building safety inspector, Sam, for all the work they did during the storm and after the storm. So it was a very busy time for all of them, and they put in a lot of work. So I appreciate it, and thank you.
Mark? Edward?
Yeah, I agree with Jason. A shout out to the highway department, the fire department, police department, electric company. They were stretched pretty thin with the storm. They did a great job. Yeah, trees down, wires down, couple of trees in the houses. They did an excellent job. Yeah, they all stepped up. They deserve a big thank you for doing that.
I agree. Anything else we want to talk about?
Motion to adjourn,
All right, make it.
9:40 PM, so moved.
Second.
Seconded, no discussion. All those in favor?
We all voted. It was unanimous.
Unanimous. Good night, everybody. See you at the next one.